behind the net, then skating in front, picking up a loose puck and scoring. And Edmonton had a 1-0 lead. But it was a tight game after 2 periods, tied at 1, when this man, Glenn Anderson, broke that tie and sent the Edmonton Oilers away to an eventual victory. Anderson and his line mate, Mark Messier, moving into the zone. Messier, the shot, deflected behind the net, but look at Messier hit Anderson right in front of Ron Hextall, and the rest was history. The Edmonton Oilers used that impetus in the first minute of the 3rd period to skate away to a victory. Mark Messier also had a couple of assists as all the big guns got in on the act. Will they do the same tonight at the Northlands Coliseum? Game 2 between Philadelphia and Edmonton is just ahead. Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, home of the Edmonton Oilers, who won Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals over Philadelphia 4-2 last Sunday night live here on ESPN. You talk to several people today, you'll get several different opinions about what might happen tonight in game number 2. The Flyers obviously want to win to even it up before the series swings to the Spectrum in Philadelphia. A lot of folks believe that should Edmonton win tonight and take a 2-0 lead, even though the series is going back to Flyer home ice, it may, for all practical purposes, be too big a hill for the Flyers to climb. Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement are standing by to call the action of tonight's second game. Let's get some pregame thoughts from those two gentlemen.
Tom, it was almost like a trap was set. Which of these contrasting teams would be able to snare the other one and get them to play their type of game? And the winner, Edmonton.
They sure did, Mike. I really think that both of these teams play better when they lead than when they follow. And I'm not talking about the score. I'm talking about the style of play. The Flyers would like to play a grinding, physical type of play that stresses forechecking. The Oilers, on the other hand, a little more wide open, stressing offensive hockey. It was definitely the Oilers that set the tempo in Game 1, and it was to their advantage.
The numbers on the scoreboard at the end of the game weren't the only numbers that showed Philadelphia didn't get its way.
No, Philadelphia didn't get their way. The numbers were indicative of what the Oilers wanted, but definitely not what the Flyers wanted. Let's take a look at them. First, let's go down the Flyers side. Attacks, 76. By attacks, we mean the number of times the Flyers arrived at the Oilers' blue line numerically equal. 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s. So they attacked 76 times. They dumped it in 28 times. That number is low. They want that number up tonight to establish that physical forechecking game. But look at the bottom number. 3 containments. Only 3 times did they get it back when they dumped it in. On the Oilers' side, about the same number of attacks. 18 dump-ins. That's low. That's the Oilers' style. And you can bet that it was Krushelnyski's line and McTavish's line, not Gretzky's and Messier's, that dumped it in. Containments, 4. That's not really their game. The big number on this thing that you're looking at right now is the little 3 in the bottom left-hand corner. That was a disaster for the Flyers.
This man said it'd be a goaltender series. We enjoy watching Grant Fuhr. We love to watch Ron Hextall because he's an offensive sort of goaltender. He didn't get that chance the other night.
No, we mentioned before Game 1 that one of the Oilers' things that they had to control was Ron Hextall's offensive abilities, and the numbers show that they did that in fine fashion. He handled the puck far less than he normally does. Look at the bottom number, total handles, 8. Of those 8, 1 was a dump out. That's a safety first kind of move. Around the glass 5 times. That's also defensive. He only did 2 things offensively with the puck. Those passes to his teammates. Total handles 8 in the game. Very often Ron Hextall handles the puck 12, 14 times a period. So that tells you what a good job the Oilers did on Ron Hextall.
All right, Philadelphia's up against a tough one here. What do they do in this game that they didn't do in Game 1?
Hopefully, for their sake, hate the Oilers a little more. Grab control of the physical game. Strong forechecking game, strong hitting game, bump and grind. That's what the Flyers have to do.
Look at it this way. If Philadelphia wins this game, the series is a best of 5. If they lose it, they've got to win 4 out of 5, Tom.
It's that simple indeed. So a very important game night for Philadelphia. You know, they are healthier than they were in the first game. Lindsey Carson and Murray Craven are available for duty, but Tim Kerr, their big gun, especially on the power play, is not dressed again tonight. It's the Flyers and the Oilers, Game 2, straight ahead on ESPN. People who should know. Wayne Gretzky of the Edmonton Oilers and Mike Keenan, the head coach of the Flyers, commented on what kind of style we'll see tonight.
We realized they came off a tough series with Montreal, and emotionally they had to be a little bit drained, but we realized they're going to be a better hockey team on Wednesday night, but we also realized we're going to be better on Wednesday night also.
All right, good luck.
I think the mindset of the hockey club will be better. Certainly we had some residual effect of the Montreal series and probably didn't have time to recover as well as we perhaps thought we had. And I feel the emotional response for the next game will be better for our hockey club.
Well, Mike Keenan and Wayne Gretzky not saying so in so many words, but it is the popular belief on both sides of the fence that now that Philadelphia has had a chance to catch their breath with a couple of off days here in Edmonton and get their minds off that big series with Montreal and more into this series with Edmonton, that it should be a more competitive game tonight. Not that Game 1 wasn't competitive. It was 1-1 after 2 periods, but Philadelphia made a fatal mistake, and that was letting the big guns of the Edmonton Oilers wind up at center ice like a hurricane, gathering strength and coming in and really putting the pressure on Ron Hextall. Now, Mark Howell, of course, was a question mark for this game, too. He was injured early in Game 1 on a very legal but very crucial and crunching hit with Mark Messier. His playoff stats, 2 goals and 9 assists, but he's an NHL All-Star and certainly the most steady defenseman that the Flyers have. He will play tonight. It's still a question mark, though, if he's 100%. He insisted this morning, at the pregame skate that he was, and he skated very well indeed. Paul Coffey, of course, could be a key player on the other side of the ice for the Edmonton Oilers. Coffey, who has not had the best playoff statistics in this springtime, 2 goals and 5 assists. When you think of Paul Coffey, you think of an offensive defenseman, a guy who rushes the puck into the zone and carries the play. But he had maybe his best performance in the playoffs in Game 1 of this series. Let's take a look at some of the key stats from Game 1, how they added up in this series. For Game 1, the shots were about even. The quality shots were about even. The face-off slightly in charge of the Edmonton Oilers. The offsides even. The hits even, and that's a surprise. A lot of people expected Philly to have a big margin in that area. So which team will exert its will tonight in game number 2? Let's go up to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement and find out. Gentlemen.
In his 11th Stanley Cup final, Andy Van Helleman, the referee, John D'Amico and Bob Hodges, the linesmen.
And in goal, we keep waiting for a surprise. And you know what? I think we're going to wait a long time, especially as far as the Flyers are concerned. There will be no surprise. Ron Hextall is once again in goal. And at the other end, Grant Fuhr is also in goal. Very capable backups in Glenn Resch for the Flyers and Andy Moog for the Edmonton Oilers. But it will be Fuhr and Hextall once again.
Don Koharski is the backup official tonight. The off-ice officials from Winnipeg. And yes, Philadelphia will start some checkers. Sutter, Tocchet, and Carson with Crossman and Marsh in back. The Messier, Anderson, Nielsen combination is out for Glenn Sather's Oilers with Lowe and Gregg the defense. Kent Nielsen turned it over for Messier, and the pass is up to him, plays it through for Nielsen, and his shot is saved by Hextall. And a combination set up by the Oilers in the first 15 seconds. Play made back, but too far for Sutter. Low angles, and that one glanced off Gregg. Back ahead for Sutter's drop to Tocchet in front. Oh, and that one directed right on goal by Carson. Good opportunities at either end early. Crossman flips. Tocchet tries to play. Bank from him and out with it on the give-and-go Messier. Then leaves for Anderson. Anderson shot sailed wide. Nielsen there gets away from the hit of Sutter. Back up with it comes Lindsey Carson, and Carson just unwinds wide from center ice. Shift change. Poulin, Mellanby, and McCrimmon.
Mike, no question, this is not the start that the Flyers need. The Edmonton Oilers have had a 3-on-2 plus a breakaway, semi-breakaway by Kent Nielsen. This is not the Flyers. This is not what they need to do.
Propp and Mark Howe are the other Flyers. It is Coffey working back on defense with Charlie Huddy, who plays it now for Edmonton. Pass misses for Hunter. The other 2 men on the line, McTavish the center and McClellan the right wing. Howe's pass is kept by Huddy, given right back up to Dave Poulin. 10-man pass went steaming by Propp and is flung back out by Grant Fuhr. It is nudged on up the wing. Hunter reaching for it, but McCrimmon there first. Slight bump for Poulin. Puck tipped by McClellan and then handled by Howe. Charlie Huddy with a minute and a half gone in an eventful first period thus far, especially the first 30 seconds. Mark Howe connects with Brad McCrimmon. Flyers in the midst of a shift change, so that pass goes asunder, and Steve Smith quickly back to McTavish and in. And Hextall goes astray, but that, of course, is his style. Howe to Brian Propp. Shovels it up for Zezel. They're 2-on-2. Zezel is shot. Oh, and that one screamed off the glass. Came to Tikkanen. Connects back out. On with this is Ruotsalainen, a drive wide. Sellout crowd here tonight, responding to these early thrust by both teams as Marsh fires one that's turned away by Fuhr. Derek Smith tapped. Tikkanen tries to clear. Loose puck, though, gotten by Derek Smith again. Behind for Zezel. Swings one in front that's handled by Curry and advanced to Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky and Curry in a 2-on-2. Tikkanen up the wing and wrestled off by Dave Brown. There'll be a penalty coming up to Philadelphia. 2 minutes, 38 seconds gone. Period 1, no score.
We had talked in Game 1 about the importance of the people away from the puck, especially for the Oilers. Wayne Gretzky is one thing to key on. Mark Messier is another, so you have to take care of the guys away from the puck. Dave Brown did, but because Esa Tikkanen really dug in and drove for the net, he was forced to drag him down. You could see just the tail end of that play.
Hextall crunches the boards and throws, but Charlie Huddy is there. Banks it to Gretzky, then to Curry, but instead it's back to Coffey. Jari Kurri looks to the slot. Puck knocked down and cleared back out by Craven. Shift change now. Craven steps off, and Dave Poulin and Brian Propp will be on. Craven was just there for the initial faceoff. A minute and a half to go on the power play to the Oilers. No score in the game. Glad you've joined us tonight on ESPN as Coffey plays in. Hextall controls and swings it back down. Oh, and that one just went by Brian Propp. Flung out by Fuhr, but Propp able to control, and then it's lost to Tikkanen. Poulin centers, and that flagged down by Kurri. Jari Kurri trying to control and gets it on to Tikkanen. Moves back out on Brad McCrimmon. McCrimmon's pass for Paul Coffey is tipped by Propp and gathered in by Brad McCrimmon. Shift change on. Messier's unit comes out now for the final 57 seconds of the power play. Power play had difficulty. 2 for 16 against Detroit. It was 0 for 2 in game 1 as Messier can't get by Mark Howe. Craven spins it back down.
Boy, you can tell when Mark Messier has it inside of him, and tonight he is a hungry hockey player.
It's Gretzky. Backhander, and that's handled by McCrimmon. Back it comes Ruotsalainen. Hurries it to Messier. Then to Ruotsalainen. Half a minute left power play. Messier drops it back off. Gretzky from behind. Centers on. And it is the drive that's blocked off. Carried back out by Sinisalo, and the play is for Craven to drive in. That one snared by Fuhr and set up for Ruotsalainen with 15 seconds to go on the man advantage. Good action here from the Northlands Coliseum. 15:30 left first period, no score. Gretzky fires. Pad stop. Hextall. Centering back. Oh! Anderson went wide with the shot. Anderson lays it for Gretzky. Punched away by Brad Marsh. Anderson really hit hard by Tocchet. The Flyers start back out as the penalty box emptied of Brown. Play knocked down by Anderson and controlled by Gretzky. Turns it loose, and Krushelnyski will drop back in.
Mike, you think Ron Hextall doesn't have some of the best concentration in all of pro sports?
You can see it.
It's not only the one save, but he recovers, and he knows where it's going and where it's coming from on the next one. He somehow finds a way to recover after every save.
Marsh rolls for Tocchet. Starts out with Derek Smith and has it to him. Headman pass to Eklund. Eklund centers. Smith a shot. Saved by Fuhr. Crossman a drive. Saved by Fuhr. He hangs on.
This is playoff hockey.
The score of the game, 0-0.
Best reflex goalies ever in the game of hockey. Eklund carries in deep. He doesn't even look, but he has a man. And Fuhr has to make the save. Then Tocchet comes in for a rebound. Watch Crossman's shot. Fuhr up again with low down to try and block the shot. Boy, it's just excellent goaltending at both ends. Here's a super slow-mo shot from our end zone camera. Gretzky moves in, pumps and lets it go. There's the price that he will pay if the Philadelphia Flyers have their snarl on, which they were trying to get for tonight.
Kjell Samuelsson with play back in. Rolls to Charlie Huddy. Missed for McSorley, and McTavish starts ahead with Krushelnyski, but they're surrounded by orange and black. McTavish tries to get one in front. Krushelnyski a shot, and that blocked off by Hextall. Brown now on to Darryl Stanley. Feeds on the wing, but the play goes offside.
Well, I asked Mike Keenan this morning if he could isolate a position that didn't play up to their potential in game 1, and he said no question the forwards. The poor defense and Ron Hextall were under siege for a lot of the third period, and Mike really didn't think that his forwards played the kind of inspired game. You know, to play strong defense, for the defensemen to go back into their end and get the puck when it's dumped in, you need so much help from your forwards. The forwards actually have to hook and grind and hold people up. Here's another look from our super slow-mo camera of Craig McTavish getting a rough ride, but he did the job. He got it out to Mike Krushelnyski, who got a sharp angle shot. See Hextall, how he recovered. The shot bounced off him. He was ready for anything.
Puck chipped ahead. Mark Howe moves for it, but instead it's Fuhr. Lays it back along to Nielsen. The pass in the skates of Messier. Has trouble with Poulin's checking, but now it's Anderson ahead. One-on-one with Howe. Anderson shot directed away by Hextall. Smith the drive. Blocked down by McCrimmon. Flyers have a 3-on-2 developing. The pass too far for Poulin, and Ruotsalainen goes back, so Fuhr will just play it away from him, and Propp hit hard by Messier. Still the puck worked back for Philadelphia to try to keep, and Brad McCrimmon does it. Given up to Steve Smith, then on to Anderson. Anderson to Messier. But again, tight Philadelphia checking, and here's Tocchet moving in. Wedged off by Smith, but he got a shot away, and Fjord took care of that one. The shots are 6 for Philadelphia and 5 for the Oilers. Only 1 penalty in the game, that a minor to Philadelphia's Dave Brown. The teams are at full strength. 13 minutes, 5 seconds to go, first period. Game 2, best of 7, Stanley Cup Finals from the Northlands Coliseum. We'll have them all for you. 2 nights from now, the venue shifts to the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Missing a check was Brown. While falling, Gretzky plays, but Hextall hasn't. Brad Marsh of the Philadelphia defense wrapping it on for Brown, but it squirts back where Kevin Lowe has to regroup. Fed back along on the turning stick of Jari Kurri, then up the wing to Gretzky. Gretzky plays, hoping for Kurri, who was nearby, but it's Crossman. This one is followed up by Brad Marsh. Marsh moving in. Then for Zezel, and then Derek Smith. Shot is wide. Zezel looking from behind. Centering pass, and that one flipped up over the net. Dave Brown centers one. That one pinballed in front and came back to Gretzky. Moves out with Esatikin, and it's a 2-on-2. Now a 3-on-3 as Kurri is there for the pass, and a save by Hextall. Isn't this super? Wonderful action here tonight from the Northlands Coliseum. 8 minutes gone, first period. Shots even at 6, no score. Gretzky crisscrosses, fires, blocked by Hextall. And Hextall plays it back along to Lindsey Carson, whose pass is too far for Mellanby, but he takes it on the carom. Mellanby forced off by Coffey. And it is Charlie Huddy double team behind. Ron Sutter sweeps to this one. Tries a pass, but Huddy is there. Bear hug is wrapped around Mellanby, and there'll be a penalty coming up. Delayed call on centering pass, blocked down. Ron Sutter, extra attacker is out. It's Pelle Eklund as the Flyers continue on the delayed penalty call. Howe in the corner loses the touch-up, and there'll be a Philadelphia power play coming up. 11:22 to go. First period, we still have no score.
You know, sometimes when you get too close to the bull, you get the horns. Sometimes you don't even have to provoke the bull. Watch Hextall. Bing. Tried to go between the shin pads and the pants, too, where there's no padding. Don't get too close to the Gladiators in goal, especially this time of year. We're talking May. We're talking territorial rights, especially around the crease.
Coffey a hold at 8:38. Philadelphia 0 for 1 on the power play in this series. This is their second opportunity, first of the night. And Gregg sealed up by Mellanby, and the puck just held at the front by Fjord.
You know, he jumped on that puck and didn't have it, Mike. Had he not had his stick in the right place, it wouldn't have bounced back. You can see Glenn Sather turning nicely for the camera. At the far end is co-coach John Muckler. And yesterday at an awards banquet here, Muckler was introduced as an assistant coach. And by the time Glenn Sather had a chance to make it to the podium, which was sometime later, he was very quick to point out that John Muckler is not an assistant coach, he's a co-coach. And the Oilers players will tell you, Mark Messier included, that John Muckler is a very smart hockey man and provides the technical aspect of their attack and their defense, a great portion of it. Glenn Sather is a good motivator and takes care of trying to organize all these superstars. Muckler is by and large the hockey man behind the scenes here.
It is Sutter and Messier for the face-off test. Eklund and Brian Propp are the other two forwards, and it is Eklund who moves in, Howe and Crossman in back. And it is Huddy drilling, Howe stopping. Howe dishes off to Sutter. Feeds one in front, tipped though it's the side of the net by Propp, and Eklund darts right to it. But it's hung up in the pile of players behind, and then Sutter is added to the pile, but continues to play as Steve Smith leaning on him, and then Sutter retaliates as Propp has it. Fed back to the point to Crossman. Crossman hands it back to Eklund. Gives to Howe. Drive, tipped in front, another shot, and Fjord has it. Marvelous goaltending.
Great goaltending. Great help from Charlie Huddy to push Sutter out and out and out of the way again and again, but Sutter got the original deflection. And you know what? The Flyers are not accepting being held. That's the difference thus far. Watch this deflection. He gets a good shot. Huddy keeps moving him right out of the screen and right onto his back. All the way from the far end with our super slow-mo camera, you'll see Grant Fjord trying to keep his eye on it. Sutter shakes loose. Huddy actually looked like he lost his balance in front. Left Sutter alone. Huddy came charging back, but the Flyers don't seem to be accepting people holding him. Steve Smith had a hold of Ron Sutter before that shot behind the net, and Sutter just flung him off. If you want to play to win, you cannot accept being tied up.
Bud keeps the action going so you can enjoy the Flyers and the Oilers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Ron Sutter to Brian Propp, has Eklund in front to Sutter. And across now to Eklund. Eklund looks things over, has Mark Howe to pass to and gives to him. The return is to Eklund. Feed side of the net, but getting right in the way of Smith, and he clears. Eklund starts it right back along to Crossman. Has a man breaking Howe. Fires, and Fuhr has it. Seems odd to say, but that's one of his easier ones, I think.
Isn't that something? I agree with you. The Flyers have had 11 shots on Grant Fuhr, and Hextall's had 7. I can't remember an easy one that Hextall had. Perhaps a semi-sharp angle shot by Krushelnyski, but it was still within range to score. Quality chances have definitely been there tonight.
Well, Hextall's getting to handle the puck. Probably by now he's had as many handles or close to it as he had in the whole game won.
The Oilers have been attacking so frequently as well that the play has kept coming at him. Those quality chances. And that's one thing that the Flyers don't want to engage themselves in, is a competition of quality scoring opportunities. When we talked about defensive play, grinding, shutting down the Oilers' stars, I'll guarantee you that if the Oilers have 20 major scoring opportunities and the Flyers have 20, the Oilers are going to win the hockey game. They have better scorers.
Tocchet misses Crossman, and down it goes with 45 seconds to go on the power play. Messier forced the hand of Hextall. We're at the halfway point of the first period. 11 shots Philadelphia, 7 Oilers. Play made through. Oh, and they had the third man on the dish off but couldn't reach him. And the puck cleared by Gretzky. Hextall has really been assertive in his goal tonight and in roaming more in his zone than we noticed in game number 1. But it is Crossman there, playing it back up for the drop in by Dave Poulin. Propp moves toward it, but it's chopped away by Smith. Loose puck is gathered in by Hunter and fed to Gretzky. Gretzky puts on the fake, now looks for the pass, and across it's tipped by Poulin just away from the breaking Kevin Lowe. Crossman right back along, gives to Propp. Wanted to get it to McCrimmon. Gretzky has it and feeds to Lowe. Penalty time is up, and nearly a backhand pass to the man just coming out of the box, Paul Coffey. And they say that Gretzky can see all over the ice all the time, and there was just an example. Teams at even strength, 9-10 left, scoreless first period of play. Game 2 here at the Northlands Coliseum as Gretzky faked the drop and then carried it. Now it is Curry trying to play. Brad Marsh comes along. Help has to come from Mellanby. Curry went down, and the fans wanted the arm of Andy Van Hellemond to come up. Carson can't move ahead, and so it's Brad Marsh. Matched up this time with Shel Samuelson on defense. The play is just beyond the reach of Craven, and so it's Fuhr to sweep it along. Essa ticking into play there. Bumped by Mellanby. Puck thrown well wide by Samuelson, and it's Curry dipping back. Jari Curry getting up ahead of steam nicely through Craven. Moves on into the zone. Big drive by Tickinen. Oh, and was that one a rocket?
I'm not sure if Hextall saw that, but I'll tell you, I didn't see it from here. He caught it 100%.
It is Steve Smith crisply on to Curry, moving it up to Gretzky. Gretzky fakes the drop, fires one, and that one is handled by Hextall and quickly swept for Shel Samuelson to play to Zezel. Then to Samuelson. Big Dave Brown out on the ice now for Philadelphia. Krushelnyski tries to lock up Samuelson, does a good job. Derek Smith drives in and was deep, great train by Marty McSorley. Clever stick handling, good goalkeeping, and booming hits. 7:50 left in this first period. Tikkanen's pass is for McSorley. Duels, though, with Mark Howe. Down goes Howe. Zezel couldn't get it ahead, and Derek Smith plays. Then to McCrimmon. Forechecking are Krushelnyski and Buchberger. Puck handled by Ruotsalainen. Drops it back in for the Oilers. And Hextall just cradling with the stick. Then to McCrimmon, who's taken out of the play after he's cleared out. Dave Poulin tries for Brown, but instead gets McSorley. Marty McSorley, big crowd favorite here. Heads to the Philadelphia line. Can't muscle his way through. Philadelphia starts back. Dave Poulin working on Kevin Lowe. Poulin looks, has Propp moving along and gives to him. Propp with a backhander across the goal mouth wide. Marsh able to hold for Philadelphia. Tries to send one in front, but the Oilers can recover, and a pass would have been over 2 lines had McSorley taken it. Instead, it's Philadelphia possession, and the clock continues to move. Under 7 minutes to play now. Poulin connects with Propp. Shot is blocked by Fuhr and swept away. Tocchet to play, but it's given up to Messier. Through the legs to Anderson. Anderson back for Nielsen, but it's Marsh taking over for the Philadelphia defense. Boy, this has had flow to it, hasn't it? Offside called. 6:34 to go in the first period. The game is scoreless.
Here's the fake drop pass we were chuckling at earlier. Watch Gretzky. He drops it. Whoop. Not so fast, Kjell Samuelsson. Samuelsson didn't go for it, but it was a nice try. He wasn't quite close enough to Samuelsson. And anyway, Samuelsson's got the 40-foot reach.
Puck scaled back in by Philadelphia. Fuhr leaves. Ripped along by Randy Gregg. Still some trouble for the Oilers. Anderson there connects with Messier. Across it's flung and dropped by Nielsen for Gregg to follow up to Anderson. Marsh watching him as Anderson is forced behind but comes out in front, and Marsh right on his tail again. Good defensive work there by the big Philadelphia defenseman Brad Marsh. Crossman's pass goes all the way down. And so it is Kevin Lowe back for the icing touch-up. 6 minutes even to go first period. From the Northlands Coliseum, Oilers and Flyers no score. There you see the Northlands Coliseum, which has been home to the Alberta Oilers of the WHA in 1972, and then beginning in 79, the NHL Edmonton Oilers. Murray Craven, who has returned from injury, awaits this face-off that will involve one of only 2 helmetless players left in the playoffs, Craig McTavish. The other, you may have noticed earlier, Brad Marsh. Sutter along to Mellanby. Checked by Huddy. Followed up by Coffey. Mark Howe is there, but was preoccupied with Hunter. And on now comes McTavish. McTavish, watched by Brad McCrimmon, takes a look for a point pass and then has to deal with McCrimmon again. And it's punched away by Howe to Brian Propp. A 3-on-2 develops for Philadelphia. Leading it on is the defenseman McCrimmon, but can't get his pass away. Brad McCrimmon follows up and rolls one that seems to elude everyone. Now Craven side of the net. Mellanby, a shot that is deflected away. Hunter now for Edmonton with a pass that misses for McTavish. The chances aren't coming as frequently as they did earlier. McCrimmon's pass is on the wing to Mellanby, who misses for Sutter. McClellan working to Paul Coffey. Spins it back to Charlie Huddy. Shift change on. They want to get the Gretzky line out right now. But Brian Propp causes a problem for Gretzky, and then Tikkanen is hit by a Sutter. On now comes Propp. Got it to Tocchet. Tocchet tries to finesse to Propp, but Yari Curry was in the way. Now it's on to Gretzky. Brad Marsh watching him. The drop is to Coffey. The shot is wide. Reaching for it is Propp, but he can't get there. And then Tikkanen checks him right out of the play. They have an exchange. And the Oilers start back up with it. This is Curry. Big drive is off the glass and back out in front for Crossman to swat away. And a chance now for Carson, but again, Curry's back-checking prevents Philadelphia from going further. Steve Smith of the Oiler defense in the final 4:20 of a scoreless first period. 13 shots for Philadelphia and 7 for the Oilers. Dave Brown can't clear it out, and so it's Gretzky moving ahead. Gretzky in front, and Brad Marsh was there to make a splendid defensive play, so that it's Brown stepping back ahead for Philadelphia. Has Marsh breaking and just puts it in on Fuhr. Fuhr just away from Carson, along to Curry. Caps one, but it's read by Marsh and dropped further. On with it comes Steve Smith. Little tap in so they can bring out the Messier line. Down to the ice goes Gretzky. Andy Van Hellemond looking on without a word as the play made out from Crossman to Derek Smith. Smith turning. Backhander. It's just snapped right out of the air by Fuhr and left for Randy Gregg. The tap is along for Lowe, but he is just muscled to the boards and glass. Then Dave Brown steps into Anderson. It is Brown pointing to Samuelsson. Shot deflected away. Poulin in to test with Kevin Lowe. And Poulin kicks it along, still trying to control. Then Lowe in the way. Lowe able to outlet to Anderson. Nudges it to Wayne Gretzky. And it's Gretzky in a 3-on-3. In traffic, and it's dropped for Lowe, but he couldn't read, and no one else could either. And a cross-checking penalty has been assessed away from the puck. It'll be a Philadelphia penalty, and so the Oilers are going to have the man advantage. 3:02 left first period. There's no score.
Derek Smith has been whistled off for cross-checking. right at the top of your screen. You know, he didn't even have two hands on his stick, but from a different angle and a different perspective where Andy Van Hellemond was standing, it looked like a cross-check. So Derek Smith will sit for 2 minutes and give the Oilers a chance in the power play.
Second power play of the night for Edmonton. Puck gunned back down by Mark Howe. And it is Grant Fuhr cradling, just sweeps it away from Sinisalo. Sinisalo and Murray Craven up front for the penalty-killing Flyers. In back, Howe and McCrimmon. Anderson has trouble. Huddy follows up, but it is Mark Howe controlling and just playing the wide pass to McCrimmon. McCrimmon clips one off Sinisalo that is grabbed by Fuhr, and Fuhr just away from Sinisalo. Back up now comes Charlie Huddy with it. Huddy has a man breaking. It's Messier. Pass nicely plucked out of the air by Propp. Ahead for Sinisalo, but just tapped from him by Coffey. Smooth defensive play there by Paul Coffey. As offense changes to defense so quickly. McCrimmon along now to Sinisalo. Flyers playing some keep away. On with it is Propp. 1:10 left power play. Nice drop over to Howe. Howe in front. A shot blocked down. And closing his legs to seal it is Fuhr.
Well, he looks as if he's skating not too bad, Mike. Had a serious Charlie horse in game one and was doubtful up until this morning for tonight's game. But here's Howe breaking in. You know, Fuhr can't see very much with Paul Coffey standing in front of him there. You can see from that angle. And we'll see it from here. Nice pass by Propp. He draws the one defenseman over to him. There's Ken Nielsen trying to pursue. But somehow Paul Coffey has ended up back right in front of Grant Fuhr. It's not a real, it's a good example of what not to do. Defensemen want to stand up and face those attackers. Coffey back right in. Not only could he not check Mark Howe from back there, but he was a problem for that man, Grant Fuhr. Somehow Fuhr, as he's done so many times all season long, saw it and stopped it and froze it.
Unofficially, we're going from recollection. It has been at least 4 minutes of playing time since the Oilers had a shot on goal. They are still at 7. Philadelphia has 15 shots in this period. And this is a power play that hasn't clicked yet. But they have Gretzky and Tikkanen and Curry to work with Ruotsalainen and Smith. Sutter and Propp for the shorthanded Flyers. Marsh and Crossman in back. 2 minutes to go, first period. No score in the game. Smith on now to Gretzky. And it's angled in. Hextall to play it there. Away from Tikkanen and back out. And Ruotsalainen gives chase with Propp on his tail. Ruotsalainen able to pull back around for the Oilers. Crowd intensity picks up as Ruotsalainen freely skating into the Philadelphia zone. Rolls it along and Marsh there, but Gretzky tapped from him. Punched by Ron Sutter. Crossman there to guide it along. Smith able to whack it and keep play moving. To Curry. Then over to Tikkanen. 25-second power play drive is blocked down by Hextall. And rolled back out by Brian Propp. Just the little things that you notice defensemen do. And Brad Marsh and Doug Crossman both connecting there. 10 seconds left on the man advantage. The drop is to Gretzky. Feeds in front, and it's chipped back out by McCrimmon. And only 3 seconds now on the power play, so the Flyers will have successfully killed off the second one. 1 minute to go in this first period of play. Oilers got one shot on goal in that 2-minute power play advantage. Flyers again closing ranks, and Mellanby rolls. It is Kevin Lowe sliding it across to Dr. Randy Gregg for the drop back in. McCrimmon to take it for Philadelphia. Double teamed and then hit hard from behind by Dave Hunter, but it's Craven starting back out. Murray Craven moving on Gregg. Fakes the drive. Then Craven threw it behind, and the puck just careens along to Hunter. Dumps it ahead, and here's Gretzky moving in. Fake shot off the inside of the pad of Hextall and wide. And everyone at the Orange bench takes a big, deep breath. 15 seconds to go in the period. A period that's had everything. Here is McCrimmon spinning it back on the turning stick of Zezel. Flyers have a 4-on-2 stoppage of play. And too many men on the ice has been called against Philadelphia. Well, there was a reason for the extra man. And Andy Van Hellemond happened to see that they had too many out there, and so with just 8 seconds left in the first period, and on the heels of Philadelphia having just killed off an Edmonton power play, Gretzky upset about something at the bench. It'll be another Edmonton advantage. Here is McCrimmon moving on Hunter, and oh, did the stick come up high. You know, in relation to that shot's timing, it could have been that Philadelphia might have anticipated a power play coming up, but the arm of Van Hellemond was probably not up at that point. As the Flyers moved up on their 4-on-2, we looked out of the corner of our eye and saw Hextall sprinting toward the bench. So we don't want to further confuse you until we have a chance that we can really look it over again before we draw 2 and 2 to get 4. 1952 of the period is the too many men penalty. And here is Gretzky stepping in. Loads the gun, then fakes, finesses, but off the inside of the thigh pad, it appeared, of Ron Hextall. All right, Philadelphia for the shorthand situation will have Sutter working with Kropp, Howe and McCrimmon in back. Gretzky will be out on the wing now. Mark Messier will take the face-off. Anderson on the other side. Kent Nielsen and Paul Coffey at the points. Well, you talk about murder incorporated when it comes to offense. The Oilers have it out there now. They've got to hurry, though, before the period ends. And here's Messier. Feeds in front to Anderson, and the puck whacked by Hextall as the siren goes to end the first period. And Andy Van Hellemond indicates we're going to have at least one penalty, maybe 2. Hextall incensed about something. Hextall asserted himself with the stick. The siren went. And then an exchange between the Oilers and the Flyers at the conclusion of this first period. We'll get a chance to see it once more as Hextall charges out, pokes it with his stick. Sprawling into him was Anderson. Hextall gets back up to play. And by this time, the siren is gone. And it is a holding call on Brad McCrimmon, which means the Oilers will have a 5-on-3 at the start of period 2. 15 shots, Philadelphia. 9 shots, Oilers at the end of 1. No score.
You get an indication how the flow of the play went.
Well, the Flyers definitely dominated in the shot total. The quality shots, 5 apiece. I would venture to say there were even a couple of more serious saves involved in those totals than 5 each. Face-offs, pretty even. That shows you how much the play kept going in that period. There were only a dozen face-offs. Very often there can be far more than that. Offsides, 1 apiece. Guys are concentrating out there. The hits, that's more like it. We expected to see the Flyers with an advantage. 21 for the Flyers, 16 for the Oilers. Turnovers, about the same, 18 each, and that comes from some grinding once you get over the blue line and get into the defensive situations.
I think there's no doubt, Bill, out of 7. In this case, Edmonton hosts the NHL Awards Banquet between games 1 and 2. That fell yesterday morning here in Edmonton. What also fell were several inches of snow. That's right, I said snow. Have a look at it. The biggest surprise Tuesday morning in Edmonton, the weather. Blizzard conditions. I'm not kidding. But even that couldn't stop our Bill Clement.
Just another day of paradise, huh?
Well, to be sure, Bill and yours truly and Mike Emmerich, we all made it through the snow. But we heard Hartford General Manager Emil Francis announce the winners of the William Jennings Award, with a pair of goaltenders giving up the fewest goals during the regular season.
On behalf of the National Hockey League and the Jennings family, I'd like to call forward the 2 goalkeepers this year who won the Jennings Trophy, Brian Hayward, Patrick Roy.
Hayward and Roy actually won the award on the last night of the regular season as Ron Hextall, the Flyers, gave up 9 goals in the season finale against the Islanders. The annual National Hockey League Awards Banquet is a time for the top brass of the NHL to get together and discuss some of the big events that have happened during the past year of NHL regular season play. It's also a chance for some of the outstanding achievement awards to be handed out to players who have done very, very well during that regular season. And here in Edmonton, where the banquet was held this year, well, it's no surprise that one name continues to dominate, and that name is Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky receiving the Emery Edge Award for the best plus-minus percentage in the National Hockey League from last year's winner, Mark Howe of Philadelphia. Now, Gretzky ended up the season with a plus-minus of +70, so he adds another trophy to his ever-burgeoning trophy case. NHL President John Ziegler also on hand to hear Sally Masterton hand out the Bill Masterton Award.
On behalf of my mother, Carol, my brother, Scott, and the rest of the Masterton family, I am honored to present the 20th Masterton Trophy to Doug Jarvis.
Doug Jarvis, the classy sentiment of the Hartford Whalers, the NHL's new Iron Man. He has played in 962 games and counting. No wonder he's the winner of the Masterton Memorial Trophy. Other notables, such as Montreal's Guy Carboneau, on hand to see Wayne Gretzky get another car.
There's no question that I'm very fortunate to play on a team that's got an awful lot of talent, but not only that, who strive together to become even better and push each other day in, day out. And it's awful fun when you're winning a lot of hockey games, and when you're winning, the individual things fall into place.
Wayne Gretzky now has 14 keys and counting. Someone said he has more keys than the state of Florida. He got a new car from the Chrysler Dodge people yesterday for the 3rd straight year as the NHL's Player of the Year. Bill Clement rejoins me for a look at highlights of the first period in a moment.
Messier so often because of his strength and his speed. This was a play where he separated the zone. He was right up at the Flyers' blue line, and the play came from the far blue line. So it really spread the Flyers out. Crossman does his best to take him out of the play, but it's a European trick. What the Europeans do is they spread everything out, slow the play down in a certain area, and then have somebody coming full speed from another area. That's what Messier was doing there, and the Oilers done it pretty well that
For long, we'll see. Let's rejoin now Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
Thank you, Tom. Messier, Anderson, and Yari Curry. Gretzky and Coffey. 5 of the best in the whole world. And the 6th one is the goalkeeper at the other end, Grant Fuhr. A 5-on-3 advantage. And it is Anderson working in. Ron Sutter defending. The puck given up to Howe. Howe and Crossman are the other 2 Flyers. And the pass comes through to Doug Crossman. Just surrounded by white-shirted Oilers, and hands back for Mark Howe to just tip away. Now Messier guides it back up the wing. Gretzky drive, blocked by Hextall. Rebound, a save high by Hextall. Loose puck in front. Messier cradles, controls, Coffey a drive, blocked down in front. Hurt is Howe. The play made by Curry in front. Score Gretzky.
Sometimes you can only keep your finger in the dike for so long. Finally, the dam breaks. Hextall, so many excellent saves. Don't even know where to start. Messier had nothing to shoot at on that one. That's the shot Mark Howe blocked. Curry from the side at a sharp angle. And, you know, Mark Howe was there. That had to be threaded. Here's the Coffey. Fakes the windup. Goes over to Curry. And you can see that he only had a small space between Mark Howe and the net to thread the needle. Gretzky was actually behind the net by the time he scored the goal.
Gretzky, his 5th of the playoffs, 2nd in the series on the power play from Curry and Coffey. 1:02 to go on the 5-on-4. Huddy moves in, but the play offside.
Boy, what a chance now. They still have 1 minute and 1 second. 1 second of power play time. Here's another look at it from an overhead. Watch the bottom right. There is Gretzky. Here comes the pass right onto Wayne Gretzky's stick, and you can see Gretzky had actually gone by the net, and only his stick was visible for Yari Curry to pass to, but that's all he needed.
Anderson, Messier, and Gretzky with Huddy now and Coffey. 45 seconds of the period, the time that Gretzky scored the goal. Sutter, Howe, Crossman, and Brian Propp. And it is Doug Crossman turning. It was the cross-check, followed later too many men on the ice, then holding. And there were 3 successive minors to Philadelphia, but the last 2 came only 6 seconds apart. Huddy pestered by Sutter, puck taken by Anderson. Glenn Anderson yanks it around to Huddy. 1:25 gone, 2nd period. Oilers doing some circling because of Philadelphia forcing, and now on comes Anderson. Drops for Gretzky. Gretzky just pivoting, hands back to Huddy.
Boy, is that unusual. Huddy unscreened, wide open, and Wayne Gretzky leads him too far with the pass.
Huddy right back ahead now to Coffey, and Coffey flips up the wing. Anderson moves on it, so does Mark Howe. Little dish by Howe, along to Sinisalo. Crisply back out, 5 seconds left power play. Flyers move on. Crossman can't punch by Coffey. Out of the penalty box comes Brad McCrimmon. Puck rolled back along for Ruotsalainen. Starts back out, has Gretzky on his left and gives to him. Breaking in the wing is McClellan. Gretzky gives to McTavish, and McTavish controlling backhander. Oh, and that blocked by Hextall. Ruotsalainen looks, has McTavish, but gives to Smith, and that one tipped away by Brad Marsh. Derek Smith able to chop it back out, and with the teams at even strength, Ruotsalainen puts it on the turning stick of McClellan. Can't connect with McTavish. Crossman starts back for Philadelphia. Then Tocchet shunts it off for Derek Smith, who strides with Ruotsalainen. Puck punched in front and quickly handled by Fuhr. McTavish rolls one to McClellan. Hands then to Wayne Gretzky, who's been out a long time. Gretzky drops to McTavish, wrapped up by Derek Smith, and the puck knocked away by Samuelsson. Then left, and no one seemed to take control for a moment, but ahead with it now is Eklund. Away from this, Derek Smith goes down. Delayed call is on against Edmonton. Eklund loses. Greg touches, and Philadelphia will get a power play. 17:01 to go. Second period, it's the Oilers 1 and the Flyers.
Gretzky, number 99, seeing the ice so well. We hope to give you a pretty good look at what we're talking about. He receives this pass at center ice. Watch number 14, McTavish, trying to catch him. Now, Gretzky hasn't looked back yet, has he? He hasn't looked at anyone except straight ahead. You know what he did with that pass? Put it right on Craig McTavish's stick. Here it is. Gretzky picks it up. Look where McTavish is, bottom left. How does he know he's there? Oh, give me a break.
Power play is on for Philadelphia. It is Messier and Nielsen among those killing it off for the Oilers. Lowe and Randy Gregg in back. Mark Howe and Crossman, once the Flyers get it set up, will man the point positions. Eklund, Tocchet, and Brian Propp, and the play is to Propp, but too far. Propp playing the bounce, double team. Puck along to Messier, turned around, and still gets up trying to fight it loose, but it's Mark Howe. Chip off to Tocchet. Tocchet, checked by Gregg. Puck played by Lowe, cleared. Hextall puts it right on Crossman's stick. 1:20 to go on the power play to Philadelphia. This is their second opportunity of the night. On now comes Mark Howe. Check from him, though, by Gregg and taken by Gretzky. Short-handed power play, even strength. He's out there all the time. Howe with a pass ahead. It's rolled in deep by Eklund, but Gregg will go back to play. Wraps it along for Hunter, who directs, and Propp must play at center ice. Over to Eklund. Rolls back for Tocchet, but it is Gregg going to get it. Chips it along for Lowe. Eklund moves, and Lowe just throws it right away from him, and a nice pass combination. On with it is Gretzky. Feeds for Hunter, but it's swung away wide by McCrimmon, who goes into the net hard. McCrimmon appears to be okay, and Hextall gets up, is all right as well. And the third man is Gretzky.
Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN.
It didn't take long for Brad McCrimmon to bounce up after taking the net off its moorings. I guess he wants the Flyers management to breathe easy. There's so many injury problems. Mark Howe is on the limp tonight, Brad McCrimmon's partner, but McCrimmon smashed into the net and got right up again. Ron Sutter missed a lot of the year, 48 games with a bad back. Murray Craven's back tonight. You had mentioned that earlier, Mike. Lindsey Carson is back, having been knocked out Game 5 against Montreal, but it's been one of those seasons for the Flyers, one injury after another.
Howe lays this one to Crossman, then back out to Sinisalo with Ron Sutter on his right. Oilers move to that strong side. Play made to Sutter, then back to Howe. Howe with a wrist shot deflected. Sutter couldn't control. Away and down goes Huddy. It's Howe. Over to Crossman. That stiff pass was difficult. Huddy sweep checking on Crossman. Speeds one in front, and Paul Coffey had it read all the way and cleared. You'll hear more applause in 5 seconds because the Oiler will be out of the box. And there he is to make the play, McTavish, but it is Crossman for Philadelphia behind Howe. Shift change on, and fortunately for Philadelphia, Mellenby was right there. Crunches hard with Huddy, and Carson dubbed his shot. 14:50 to go, second period. In case you've just joined us, this is Game 2, Stanley Cup Finals. Oilers lead in the series 1-0, and in this game 1-0 on a goal by Wayne Gretzky. On a 5-on-3 advantage early in this period. Brad Marsh in, pursued by Curry. Marsh able to win that duel, turning it on to Carson's stick, then for Samuelsson, but Gretzky there, forcing him deeper.
Wasn't he just on the ice a minute ago?
Yeah.
You know, you talk about him playing in all different situations. That in itself is the biggest problem in defending against Gretzky. He gets so much ice time, and one man can't stay out there against him the whole time.
It is Gretzky behind, looking to the front, has Curry there, can't get it to him, still keeps, rolls it over to Ruotsalainen. Ruotsalainen will turn right back to Gretzky. He's all over the ice, but this one caromed to Eklund. Rolls it out, hoping for a 2-on-1, but Ruotsalainen across the cover. Gretzky twirls at center ice and then darts back in, so there's no delayed offside should he get it. Eklund lined up by Tikkanen. Play followed up by Kjell Samuelsson. The towering defenseman for the Flyers just lobs it deep. Fuhr there guides it away from Ruotsalainen, and a penalty called to Samuelsson. Away from the puck as you see the man fouled, Steve Smith. 13:39 to go, second period. It's still the Oilers 1 and the Flyers nothing.
If you look at the coincidental penalties, bottom left, watch Steve Smith poke Samuelson right in the nose. Watch Samuelson with the stick. Smith folded up here, went right down on a little delay action to try and, I guess, just force a penalty to Samuelson, but Andy Van Hellemond got a real good look at it. He waited, even though he was turning away. A little delayed reaction. He went to the Bob Froese School of Diving. That was great.
That one was replayed again at the awards dinner yesterday as one of the more dramatic plays as McCrimmon hit the glass with his shot. Now it is Zezel, beating but low there to take over. Drops it off to Gregg. Teams go at a goaltender and 5, full strength, because of the coincidental minors. There was a time that Bill Clement liked when it would have been a goalie and 4 apiece. Play made back ahead. Howe is there, pinching off on Hunter, and rides him to the fence. Zezel turns over for Big Dave Brown, who tries to fight his way through low. Still they battle, and it's followed up by Zezel. Chased off, though, by McTavish. Derek Smith able to worm one in, and it is Gregg back to handle with under 13 minutes to play in the second period. Philadelphia with no shots so far. Edmonton has 4. Here's a chance for Propp. A shot was wide. Hunter starts back out with McTavish. Has McClellan on the wing, and the angle is for McClellan. Brad Marsh sees it poke right through him, and McClellan tries to center through the legs, but can't. Marsh wheels it right back for Philadelphia. On now to Eklund's stick. Eklund, the drop to Brian Propp. Tries to return to Eklund, and the puck nearly ricocheted off Paul Coffey. But it's wrapped around for Tocchet. And Tocchet has a duel with Nilsson. Coffey tries to play. And Paul Coffey with some room, hooked down. Play continues. On now the wing, it's Messier. Has Nilsson to pass to, but just really defended splendidly by Crossman. On with it comes Anderson. Anderson tried to get it to Nielsen, and a stick in the way. Another play, and that made by Brad Marsh. And another Oiler gets up, and the fans upset, as turning for it is Paul Coffey back on defense. Tocchet tries to hook him, but it is Coffey with a pass too far. Collared by Crossman with 11:45 left in the second. 1-0 Oilers. Play breaks down as it was hung up in Sutter's skates. So it's the toss to Howe, then back up, and still a Flyer preoccupied with Coffey in the zone was Mellanby. Play made right into the referee, and with all of this, a delayed offside finally whistled. Coffey and Mellanby pawing at one another, and now a crowd gathers. And Mellanby moves in with Charlie Huddy. Lindsey Carson was with Coffey, and Mellanby was involved in the secondary thing with Charlie Huddy. 11:36 to go in the second. 1-0 Oilers. Mark Messier can let him go from everywhere. The puck is tipped out, and Messier, while being taken to the ice, still is able to get a shot away. Brad Marsh was the one who got his skates on it, and as he's done almost as many times as Hextall tonight, made a block in front. Bob Hodges, in his 15th year of calling the lines, working tonight with the ultimate veteran John D'Amico, 23rd year of working the lines, and Andy Van Hellemond comes in to speed things up for the face-off as the Oilers have made a shift change. Gretzky with Tikkanen on the left, and on the right Curry. Sutter wins from the face-off, and McCrimmon drills one off the glass. 11.5 minutes to go, second period. Philadelphia still looking for the first shot. And the puck cleared by Coffey. Howe with one that was over the crossbar and against the glass. Tikkanen trying to clear. Is able to get it as far as Howe. Shovel shot blocked off by Fuhr. An exchange between Fuhr and Mellanby as the Oilers move back out. Coffey hands on to Jari Kurri. Curry feeds, but it's knocked away by McCrimmon. Turning right back Philadelphia, and it's Mellanby looking ahead. Mellanby steps in. Big drive. Pad stop Fuhr. Mellanby once more centers, and Curry there to check it away. And again, another exchange back down the ice, and it is Paul Coffey who is going to go for Edmonton. 10:52 to go in the second. Coffey will go. Maybe Mellanby will as well. Our score, Edmonton 1, Philadelphia 0.
You can see on this replay the Flyers have 3 men in deep, but they get away with it. Tikkanen tries to dump it right up the middle. Who's there? Nobody in white. It's Mark Howe. He takes a dynamite wrist shot, and he's got one of the best. Fuhr does a good job of trying to direct it right through the crowd. Mellenby crashing in there, and Fuhr wound up. Just stopped short of hitting Mellenby.
That was Philadelphia's first shot of the period, and it took them about 8.5 minutes to get it. This game is still tight. 1-0. Oilers have a 4-on-2. Gretzky a drive, and that one whistled wide. Puck kept by Randy Gregg. Feeds for Curry, but it careens to Brad Marsh. Now to Craven, passed just by the glove of Tikkanen, brought on by Dave Poulin. Has Sinisalo striding. Hands over to Marsh. Marsh fires one, tipped wide. Getting a piece of it was Craven. And it's Gretzky rolling in stride for Lowe. Couldn't punch it by Crossman. Crossman starts right back with it for Philadelphia. Able to roll it in deep, and it'll be Randy Gregg's play there. Shouldered by Sinisalo, just following through on the check of the Flyers. As Lowe gives to Curry and then to Tikkanen. Shift change on for Philadelphia as Tikkanen moves on Brad Marsh. Looks for Gretzky. Feeds one, but Doug Crossman right there. Crossman with an outlet pass on to Tocchet. On for Eklund, and Eklund couldn't get his way by Kevin Lowe. Lowe covers the puck and just guides it along, and we get a hand pass whistled against Edmonton. There's a man who's had a tremendous playoff performance, Pelle Eklund.
And he's going to have to continue against this hockey team, too. The team that I was most surprised that he played so well against was Montreal. He had 6 points in 2 consecutive games in Montreal, and they played such a tight style and such a physical style. You wouldn't think that Pelle Eklund would have matched up well against them. And I would have thought the opposite here, but we really haven't noticed him that much. Here's a pretty decent rush, but you can see Kevin Lowe getting back, just shovels it to the side, and then takes Eklund out of the play. With the Oilers playing a somewhat less physical style than Montreal and a little more wide open, you would think that it would play right into Eklund's hand, but we really haven't noticed him that much in the game and a half thus far.
Bud keeps the action going, so you can enjoy the Flyers and the Oilers tonight from Salt Lake City, Utah, home of the new International Hockey League champion Salt Lake Golden Eagles. They won it tonight. From there to Muskegon, Michigan, that's where it was played against the Muskegon Lumberjacks. For all you do, this Bud's for you, and our congratulations at ESPN to the IHL Turner Cup champion Salt Lake Golden Eagles, coached by an old goaltender named Wayne Thomas. Well, we won't make comparisons with the word old. We'll say experienced in John D'Amico.
I was going to say, especially now when John D'Amico's on our screen. But boy, is he physically fit. He was at our hotel working out for the last couple of days, swimming laps, getting ready for tonight, staying in shape. Very dedicated athlete. Even he's a linesman, not looked at as an athlete, but he is one.
A penalty coming up as Eklund centered. And the puck touched by an Oiler, and that's why the whistle was blown. There'll be a power play coming up to Philadelphia, and they had some offensive pressure going. 9:23 to go in the second. It's the Oilers 1 and the Flyers nothing.
Pelle Eklund is a guy we hadn't noticed very much. For him to do a lot of wheeling and dealing in the Oilers zone. Grant Fuhr goes down there. In a big pileup in front, there's a penalty that was handed out to Steve Smith. I'm not sure that Fuhr didn't get mixed up in that pileup, and Fuhr dragging down one of the, or at least Smith dragging down one of the Flyers. Van Helleman saw it, and it's called 2 minutes to Steve Smith.
And Fuhr holds from the faceoff. So with 9:20 to go in the second period, the Oilers still have that lead that they gained early in this period on a 5-on-3 power play advantage. Curry and Coffey setting up Wayne Gretzky.
The man of many reactions we had mentioned in game one. Look at his catching glove. It's got webbing on the side. As much area as you can cover with it. And those things are so light, too. You wouldn't believe how light they are.
And Fuhr calmly flings this one along. It's by Eklund, but kept by Crossman for Pelle Eklund. Eklund's shot. Oh, and that almost had Fuhr going the wrong way. McTavish able to feed one ahead to Mark Messier. Messier moving on Doug Crossman. And Messier chased behind the goal. Just plays beautiful keep away by rolling back out to Lowe, and the Oilers just move back to center ice and play some four corners. Nielsen to Lowe. 1:25 to go on the power play. Nielsen defended by Crossman. Coming by is Eklund. And Nielsen almost on second effort got that one. Doug Crossman sliding it across to Eklund. Pass just checked away by McTavish. Back on with it comes Kent Nielsen. And Nielsen just doing a masterful job. The Oilers fans appreciating this as the puck is scaled all the way back into the Philadelphia zone deep. 55 seconds left on a man advantage. 1-0 Edmonton ahead. Sinisalo can't get by Kevin Lowe. Lowe feeds to Gretzky, and Gretzky goes for a skate with it. Is hooked by Zezel, and Zezel able with that maneuver to get it away. Brian Propp starts in, feeds it across to Sinisalo. Forehander is saved, made by Pure.
It's just one quality save after another for Grant Pure. The sprawling variety, the split saves, the glove saves. And you know, you had mentioned in game one, Mike, that he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves, and that's absolutely right. His statistics aren't that great because he plays for a team that stresses offensive hockey a little more than defensive hockey. Here's Sinisalo's drive with a good wrist shot, and he had to do the splits to get down low enough to make the glove save.
Oh, yeah.
He is just a superb goaltender that people don't realize, that don't follow the game as closely. His statistics might not bear it out, but anybody that watches him play often enough knows that he is one of the best. In some people's minds, the best.
Get a chance to see this all develop from up top this time.
You can see that Sinisalo is sprung loose on the right. Now, Gretzky was going for a bit of a break. He was a little late in getting back into the play, and the Flyers, with the man advantage, they were able to squeeze a shot away.
McCrimmon's shot is blocked down. Propp with a backhander, saved by Pure, cleared away by Coffey. 28 seconds to go on the power play as the Flyers nearly rang one home, but Grant Pure just equal. Brian Propp for Philadelphia starting back out. 7:40 left in the second period. Oilers leading in the game 1-0 in case you're just joining us. Puck played back across to Crossman. 12 seconds left on the man advantage. Charlie Huddy up with it along to Coffey, and Coffey clears. 5 seconds left, man advantage. That'll do it. The Oilers will have cleared the penalty box once more and killed off another Philadelphia power play. Huddy across to Coffey. Then it's worked back ahead to Huddy. Teams at full strength as Huddy fires one wide. Ron Sutter to get it for the Flyers. Bothered on the play. Locked up by Jari Kurri's checking. Turns it over to Gretzky. Slots over to Tikkanen. Save Hextall. Wonderful attack met by splendid resistance. It is Pure chipping one along. That's by Smith. That's Steve Smith, but Derek Smith follows up and forces to Sutter. Right back to Ron Sutter once more. Feeds in front. Mellanby stoned by Pure. Another shot. They score! Derek Smith. And it's tied at 1.
There's that forechecking we were waiting for. The Flyers end up with a one-on-one situation in front. There it is, Mellanby, bigger and stronger than Ruotsalainen. Mellanby gets the original shot, and by the time Steve Smith, number 5 for the Oilers, figures out where the rebound's going, here's Mellanby. He just overpowers Ruotsalainen. Steve Smith, I think, took a poke at it in the air, but Derek Smith was just blasting in from the left here. Sutter, Mellanby overpowering Ruotsalainen. Smith just comes roaring in here. There's Derek Smith getting by Steve Smith. Right off the back of Grant Pure's legs and back into the near post just in behind him.
So it is even as Randy Gregg gets a chance. Save Hextall. Oh, and here's Nielsen. Feeds one in front. Oh, and it's tapped wide by Glenn Anderson. Puck kept by Nielsen. Feeds it back to Lowe. Lowe waits. Then plays it aside for Anderson, and Brad Marsh right there to defend. Oh, the Flyers nearly got caught. Back with this now comes Dave Brown. Feeds over to Lindsey Carson. Drive. Pad stop made by Pure. And it's Gregg handing back on for the toss back up. Messier turning. And Messier hands on to Randy Gregg. Watched by Marsh. Backhander is wide. Nielsen dubbed one. Played by Shell Samuelson. Samuelson outlets to Marsh. They nearly had a 2-on-1, but Marsh couldn't control. They gave it right up, though, to Brown. Brown turns in, trying to pull away from Coffey. Centers to Eklund. Eklund centers, and Carson had to hurry and couldn't get a directed shot away. So just as the Flyers looked vulnerable in their own end, the Oilers did as well. Back on with this is McTavish. just plays the angle, and Hextall behind his net. Mark Howe wraps it along for Tocchet. Can't chip it by Coffey, but then on second effort it's to Propp. And Propp steps back in for Philadelphia. Propp taking a look. Tries to throw one in front. Now chips it one, but Fuhr dives and hangs on. 5 minutes, 10 seconds to go. Second period. We're tied 1-1.
Ron Hextall, what a hockey game he's had tonight. Very busy man. Gretzky shovels this one all the way over to Tikkanen. Hextall, no question. Sometimes the puck hits the goalie, and other times the goalie has to move to the puck. He definitely had to move to that one. Here's another look at the goal. Watch 19 get a decent shot away. Steve Smith swings around at it, takes a poke. One bank off the back of Grant Fuhr and into the net.
Oh, anticipating well to intercept that one and bring it out. Mike Krushelnyski rolled it along for McClellan, but instead it's Howe. Huddy throws back in. Delayed offside, and the Oilers have to vacate the zone. Flyers control, and it's Howe across from McCrimmon. Just got out of the way of a check from McClellan, and the puck pops out of play. Derek Smith. Peterborough Pete's, and has been with the Flyers now for 3 seasons, was a part of one of their most successful draft years.
Sure was. And as he improved himself as an athlete as well, and that seems to be a sort of a story that runs through a lot of the stories when we get talking about players with the Flyers. When they become Flyers, they become better athletes. He arrived at training camp this year at the beginning of the season just about 20 pounds heavier than he finished the season the year before. His body fat was 4% less. We told the story a number of times about Brad Marsh, how his body weight, his body fat had dropped. Derek Smith, another one that got stronger and leaner.
Brad Marsh is out now and whipped that one into Huddy. Charlie Huddy tried to pass across that Hunter was able to nudge further, but it's Crossman flipping one that Hunter carried in and then paid the price with Dave Brown gently, but a stoppage of play. You know, we made mention to that International Hockey League score. We should probably, well, we have a...
Speaking of the International League.
No.
The International League's a good hockey league.
Young man just barely above the boards watching this. We should say that it was Salt Lake 7, Muskegon 3 tonight. Salt Lake won the final series 4-2. And you fans in American League cities, Rochester a winner over Sherbrooke tonight 7-4. So they go to 7 games to determine the champion Saturday in Sherbrooke. Sherbrooke is the Montreal-Winnipeg farm team, and Rochester the farm team of the Buffalo Sabres. That's the first time in 24 years that a 7th game has been needed to decide the American League championship. It's been since 1971 that a 7th game was needed for the NHL championship. If it takes 7, we'll be there, as we will be in Philadelphia for games on Friday and Sunday. On ESPN, that's games 3 and 4. But on now with this one, it is Reijo Ruotsalainen. Ruotsalainen, wrist shot, and that hit off someone in front, perhaps Hextall. Puck behind, and Marsh took down McTavish. Now a 4-man cluster in the scrum, and the 5th man, Crossman, able to take it away. Game tied at 1. Just over 4 minutes to play, second period. Stepping in is Ron Sutter. Feeds to Crossman, couldn't get the shot away. Good checking by McTavish. Ruotsalainen glasses it, and Curry directs it further. And now something happening well away from the puck. Crossman in a bear hug. Back down in the corner, and I believe it is with Dave Hunter. Yes, it is. And they are finally parted, and it was all wiped out by a delayed offside. The play at center ice meant nothing. And Andy Van Hellemond just stares a few daggers as Gretzky comes by for a word.
Tough customers. There's Ron Sutter hounding Dave Hunter, staying with him.
Oh,
whoa!
I guess.
Well, is that as straight a left as you've seen in some time?
Since Golden Gloves.
What a blow! Knocked his helmet right back on his head. But you know, I was mentioning that at this time of year, you can't allow yourself to be tied up in a situation. And here's Dave Hunter at it again. And you'd have to figure that at this stage, as we pick it up, that Hunter has already inflicted some damage on Doug Crossman. Doug Crossman usually doesn't play an aggressive brand of hockey, but he certainly had a reverse headlock.
Oh, and there's one in front. They score! Brian Propp. A splendid job done by Brad McCrimmon in all that traffic of keeping the puck in so that it could be sent to the front, and the Flyers have broken the tie.
And, you know, I think the whole Oilers team was crossed up on this one, but they left the front of their net wide open. Tocchet wheels around. Look at Brian Propp. He could have pulled out the picnic table and started making himself a sandwich. He had so much time. Oh, look how far the Oilers are. They definitely felt that the play was going the other way, but that's a gambling type of play, and the first one back is Tikkanen. Paul Coffey pinches up. You can see Coffey turn around. If at this stage he's not going, uh-oh, then he's not seeing what we're seeing. Look at Propp. He waited for it to pop out, and he just nudged it by Fuhr, and the tenacious Flyers now have a 2-1 lead.
We'll pick up the scoring for you. Meanwhile, it is Coffey sailing one over the glass that will force a center ice faceoff. Props from Tocchet and McCrimmon at 16:23. Tocchet did the feed, but McCrimmon was able to keep play in the zone. It looked as though the Oilers had it and were going to be able to clear out.
Did you notice his guffaw after the goal? We just got to a tight shot of him when he took his glove off, flipped his hand up in the air like a bird taking off and said guffaw. If you've watched Brian Propp play, or if you've seen comedian Howie Mandel, that's who he got the routine from. Every time he scores to signal his buddies back in New Jersey that everything is in order, and here he gets another chance to do it. He just waits. The puck comes back up between Fuhr's legs, and shortly after that he did his guffaw. Here are the Flyers that are up near us on the catwalk. Mike Stothers, Ed Hospodar's there. That's Al Hill. Boy, they're having a good time now.
They were pretty grim a little while ago, but they are charged up for this as their team has come from yielding a 5-on-3 power play goal to Wayne Gretzky to scoring twice in 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Derek Smith and Brian Propp will give you the assists in a moment as Fuhr winds along for Tikkanen. Shoved off by Crossman. Mellanby wheels one off the stick of Coffey. To play this is Curry. Meanwhile, the bump is Derek Smith and Huddy. Puck laid back out, but too far for Tikkanen. 3 minutes to go, second period, and Gretzky has it. Fakes the drive, tries to dish off, but it was from the skate of Crossman that he could control to Sutter. Sutter moving back in with Derek Smith. Plays it to him, and Smith with a drive and a split save made by Fuhr. Crossman can't get it deep. Sutter takes a look, then sends one into the glove of Fuhr. Stoppage of play.
You know, at another stage of this game, Grant Fuhr might have let that puck go, or at least caught it and put it back into play. Not now. The Flyers are definitely on a bit of an adrenaline rush now, and they're coming. And Grant Fuhr can sense that when the Flyers start gathering that momentum like a big snowball rolling down a hill. It's time to put out the fire. Look at that toe save by Grant Fuhr. Shortly after this, that he made a glove save and held it, but he's had a fabulous night tonight. Another look at it from our overhead. Derek Smith shot, labeled for the far corner. Grant Fuhr doing the splits. And the Flyers pursuing as they've done so well in this hockey game. That's the one thing that they didn't do that they do so well in game one. But boy, they sure pursued. That second goal that they scored was as a result of strong pursuit. Puck pursuit along the boards and being tenacious.
Tocchet and McCrimmon, the assists on Propp's 10th at 16:23. Mellanby and Sutter, the assists on Derek Smith's 6th at 13:20. Well, you could see Zezel. He wanted to dart right away.
He wants to cheat on it. That's what he wants to do. And it's a big advantage when you can come in with your body momentum and try and guess when this linesman is going to drop the puck. I always thought it was an advantage to let the other guy get set and then come in and try and time it. And I learned from the best cheater in the game, Bobby Clark.
Flyers win this one. Oh, and a good reach to poke it back out again. Doing that was Glenn Anderson. Marsh dumps back in deep. 2.5 to go, second period. 27 shots for Philadelphia, 15 for the Oilers. That means it's 12-6 Flyers here in the second period.
Boy. Well, we talked about them needing a split. They certainly are. You can tell that they're a team with intention tonight, that have some drive and that really are meant to be here. In game one, you can only rely on Mike Keenan's knowledge of his own team when he said that there was an emotional letdown after playing Montreal. Well, there's no apparent emotional letdown tonight. We saw Peter Zezel skate off the ice. You know, when I talk about Bobby Clark being a good cheater on the faceoffs, I'm saying that in a positive way. You know, you bend the rules as much as you can. If you get caught, you get thrown out of the faceoff circle. That's the only penalty. You look at Ron Hextall's huge trapper. We saw Grant Fuhr's earlier, but that's not even open. There's a pretty good shot at it. That's a wide glove.
You're allowed 16 inches. Mike Keenan felt that Patrick Roy had far more than that in the previous series. But of course, the glove had already been measured, and they would not be measured again. Craven tosses to Crossman. Then along, it's allowed to go by Sinisalo. Grant Fuhr coming out of his goal to handle it for Randy Gregg. Craven putting the lumber on him, but Gregg gets a pass to Kent Nielsen. Drops it off to Messier. Oilers got the first goal early in this period. Flyers answered with 2 and have the lead. They trail in the series 1-0. Nielsen drops it along to Anderson. Flips one for Messier, but it's grabbed by Ron Sutter.
Did you see how close Sutter was to him? The Flyers have done an excellent job tonight in taking away Mark Messier's skating room, especially in the neutral zone. That's where he likes to get going. That's where Sutter will pay the most attention to him, though, is in the neutral zone.
It is Fuhr. After him is Sinisalo, who just checked his face for an accidental high stick cut. McSorley to Messier, then along to Anderson. Anderson trying to turn away from Mark Howe, and does. Has to hurry one along that rolls right to Hextall, but it is by Ruotsalainen, though kept by Anderson for a hopeful shot that's wide. Now it's Steve Smith keeping one. Wrist shot off Messier, and then Messier takes down Brad McCrimmon, and McCrimmon swings the stick. Players seem to be frustrated here, as back up with it is Howe. Run into by Buchberger and knocked flying, and Mark Howe limping a bit as he gets to his feet. Now it's McSorley. But Howe able to pull it from him. Final minute of play here in the second. Tocchet crunches with Krushelnyski. Along comes Buchberger. Buchberger tries to finesse one through, and Brad McCrimmon able to knock it away. Handling it is Krushelnyski. Feeds back to the point. Smith finesses to the corner. It's given back to him again. Smith with a drive. That blocked, and then it just plopped off a couple of sticks. A scramble in front. Put right on the goal line, and Andy Van Hellemond says no goal. It was on the line, and Van Hellemond moved around from behind the net, got his eye right on the goal line, and said no. And as you might expect in that kind of a pileup, there's some shoving afterward. But that one was oh so close to being a tie game with just 35 seconds to go in the second. There's been phenomenal action all night long. But when it gets so close to the net, and it's just a matter of inches, you see the work being done by the rookie. Kelly Buchberger, playing only in his second game, takes a swing from Hextall, is given a shove from behind by Hextall. But this young man who played for Nova Scotia in the American League this year is a tough one. Moves to the front again and got that chip shot away that was behind Hextall, but he was able to keep it from going in. We see no indication of penalties from the disturbance that followed, although Bob Hodges is escorting Rick Tocchet over to the Philadelphia bench. But all of this happening with 35 seconds to go in the second. Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ESPN will be at the Spectrum in Philadelphia for Game 3 of this best-of-7 series between the Oilers and Flyers. And Sunday night, the time will be 7 Eastern. Ron Hextall pointed animatedly with his index finger as Andy Van Hellemond was talking to him about his use of the stick in front of the net. This one's had everything, hasn't it? Earlier in the game, there was a lot of flow to it. Glenn Sather was most happy then because that's the type of game his team handles the best. And it was back and forth, some splendid saves made by Hextall early. Then the force was on Grant Fuhr. There were some close plays, some good hits at that time. We've had some fair hitting here in the second period, but not quite so intense. But then the scrambles have come around the net. Philadelphia scored. Derek Smith tying the game at 13:20. And then Brian Propp at 16:23. And Philadelphia has the 2-1 edge. Since the defenseman moved in the scrum that occurred after the whistle, the faceoff was moved further out to the center ice area, and that's where the Oilers have to put it in play, but it's the Flyers who have it, and Ron Sutter flips one into the seats. And now Smith holding on to the stick of Sutter. Bill Clement mentioned at the top of the telecast, one thing the Flyers had to do was get angry at this Edmonton Oilers team. Maybe they showed them too much respect in Game 1. And that's something that we've seen instances of, not only when there have been collisions, there have been exchanges, but also, as you usually see, regardless of the opponents, after the whistle. There is Steve Smith. who a year ago had to shake hands with the Calgary Flames, tears streaming down his cheeks as he had given up what everyone measures as the goal that cost the Oilers a chance to advance. It was early in the third period of the deciding game with Calgary. But what most forget was the Oilers had 18 more minutes thereafter to try to tie the game and failed. The final 18 seconds of this period. Puck handled by Paul Coffey. Flows toward the Philadelphia zone. Coffey trying to turn behind the net. Gets away from Dave Brown, but fell. Trying to shove it in was McClellan. And the puck loose for Crossman to turn it up to Ron Sutter, and this will do it. He takes a glance, but there'll be no further play. The siren goes to end the second period. And a conversation between McClellan and one of the Flyers. But the score at the end of 40 minutes. Philadelphia 2, Edmonton 1.
Shots, once again, the Flyers out on top, and that's hard to do in this building against the Oilers. The quality shots, the Flyers had one more. Face-offs still about even. The Flyers have sort of patched that area up with Ron Sutter and Dave Poulin getting back because they were so poor earlier in the playoffs. Offsides, nothing consequential there. Hits, once again, the Flyers had more hits, just as we expected. Turnovers, pretty tight, most of those happening in the defensive zones, but the big one there is the hits. The Flyers are continuing to out-hit Edmonton, and that's their game.
I want to emphasize that those totals are for the second period only. Now, when Bill returns with me later on in this first intermission, we're going to take a look at some of the scoring opportunities.
Thank you, Tom. The game was scoreless at the end of the first period. 3 goals were scored in the second. Gretzky on a 5-on-3 power play from Curry and Coffey at 45 seconds. Derek Smith, 13-20 from Mellanby and Sutter. Prop from Tocchet and McCrimmon at 16-23. And again, Philadelphia outshot the Oilers 12-7 in that period. Game totals 27-16. This is the 10th time in their 21st playoff game that Philadelphia has had a lead going into the third period. Their record is 9-0 in closing the deal. The Oilers have only trailed going into the third period in their previous 15 playoff games once. They lost that one. Underway here in the third as the play is made for Derek Smith, but he can't pass it ahead. It's Anderson shaking free to Nielsen. A shot deflected by Brad Marsh, out of play. Only 15 seconds before Marsh makes a gem here at the start of the third.
And you know, the Flyers' record when they have the lead going into the third, it's really no surprise when you consider their style of play, which is very disciplined defensive hockey. And it didn't take them, 15 seconds to have a breakdown. Here is Anderson picking it up and getting between Smith and Crossman over to Nilsson. Brad Marsh makes a great play dragging that right leg. Otherwise, Mark Messier is over the side of the net. That was a clear-cut 2-on-1 with one of the best men in the world handling the puck right there, Ken Nilsson.
Old teammate of yours. Have you ever seen him so dedicated to winning?
No, he's never come this far, and he's never played, I don't think, with a team with as much leadership as the Oilers, and he's really conforming well to it. And I think playing as inspired a brand of hockey as he's ever played in his life.
Randy Gregg leaned on by Marsh. The puck comes over to Nielsen. He swung it wide. Derek Smith striding for it. Messier trying to fight through. They cancel, and it's Nielsen firing one, and that blocked off by Ron Sutter, who seems hurt. Puck in front. Messier had to hurry it along, and Marsh was the one who could read it. Though this one off the linesman Bob Hodges, it's sent further by Sutter. In case you're just joining us, 45 seconds gone, third period. Oilers lead the series 1-0. Philadelphia leads the game 2-1. Mark Howe waits for that pop fly to come down, and Messier canceled by Dave Brown. So it is Dave Poulin working on to McCrimmon. McCrimmon can't clear ahead because of Curry's checking, and Curry is able to control just momentarily. Poulin laying it back down, and Yari Curry has been so impressive from a defensive standpoint tonight, checking especially back in his own end. We've noticed him breaking down Flyer attempts to move out. Here is a reverse as the Flyers keep the Oilers from moving out. Fans thought that should have been an offside, but the play continues with Howe shoveling one wide. It is Tikkanen waiting for Edmonton, then taking the shoulder of Lindsey Carson. Mellanby couldn't step away, and it's Gretzky back. Picks up Steve Smith. It's a 3-on-2. Gretzky has Smith breaking and gives to him. Smith's shot is into Hextall. McCrimmon right back now to Ron Sutter. Looks up the wing and has Mellanby there. And then swings it by. Shift change on for Philadelphia. They bring out Crossman and Marsh on defense. Sinisalo as well as Eklund up front to join Brian Propp.
You know, Mike, you'd have to think Hextall has a favorite side. I don't think he's been beaten on that side in the playoffs since we've been watching. He gets beat on the other side when he doesn't have his glove hand to the long side, but when they come down on this side, when left-hand shots come on their forehand side, the way Steve Smith just did, Hextall is just like a wall.
He really glides across from his left to his right well, doesn't he?
He covers so much net, and his timing is flawless. You know, so you put those two things together, you don't see much net when you skate in on him. You look up, and there's nothing there but pads and body.
Here is Eklund, and Eklund forced Fuhr to make a play. Fuhr punches it along to Charlie Huddy. Just a little shuffleboard move, and ahead it's from McClellan back to Huddy. The opposite wing is Hunter, and the shot is deflected away by Hextall. Hunter leaned on by Sinisalo's stick. It is McClellan having it knocked away by Crossman, and McClellan gets the glove up in Crossman's face as Marsh plays it along. Misses for Eklund and for Hunter, but ahead it is Brian Propp. Shift change on for Philadelphia as Propp waits now. Slides to Crossman for the big drive that is stick to the glass by Fuhr. Under 17 minutes to go, third period of play. Philadelphia leading in the game 2-1. And it is big Darryl Stanley sliding it to Samuelson, then through Zezel and Brown. Zezel trying to play, but the whole thing winds up being an offside. From the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, where it snowed yesterday, 2-1 Flyers.
We're going to take a look at that last big save by Hextall. You can see Gretzky went close enough to Mellamy to make a good defensive pick of the puck, and he headed up ice, and just over his left shoulder, the right of the screen, Steve Smith. He looks back to see if anybody's coming. Right about now, Steve Smith digs in. It's a clear 3-on-2. Gretzky stops. Markow has to try and put on the brake with his bad leg. He feeds over to Smith. Here's a look at it from overhead. Gretzky stops. Smith keeps going. With Hextall way out of the net. No problem.
Kevin Lowe behind the Philadelphia goal in front. It's shot wide by Messier. And Randy Gregg has to play it. Lowe wheeled all the way in deep. Takes this pass from Gregg and works on to Messier. Able to shake by Howe. Two men to pass to. Deflection, and Lowe still got a shot away that was wide. And the puck shot out of play. You can see them starting to exploit Howe, can't you?
Well, you can't give Messier the blue line and the speed, and that's what he had, was a burst of speed before he hit the Flyers' blue line, and he was wide. He makes a great move there on Howe, and you see he had some speed when he hit the line, Mike, and then he went wide, and it was a great feed to Kevin Lowe, and if Ron Sutter doesn't deflect that puck just a touch, what a move. Great left-right move. Here's our end zone super slow-mo camera. Then he makes a great feed across. And although you couldn't see it, Ron Sutter just tipped it out of the way from Kevin Lowe.
Perhaps I spoke too soon. Would that be the side that with the injury he has that Howe would have trouble with, or would it be the other way?
I would think that in any case like that, Mike, it's the quick movements. Anytime you have a muscle injury, and the Charlie horse, I can guarantee you, is one of the most painful things you'll ever go through. And every time you make a stride, you have to use the muscles between your knee and your thigh, and that's where the Charlie horse is. So any quick movement like that in a one-on-one situation, Mark Howe's at a disadvantage.
Here is Curry. Fires and hits the outside of the net. Another try is hurried high and wide. Curry feeds over to Tikkanen. Back to Smith. Shot tipped. And into the seats it goes as Curry was parked to the left. And they rule it's off Curry, and that draws a protest from the Oiler captain.
Here's Curry's shot. Wow, it just sneaks through, and it does look like it actually took some elevation with it. Now it went over to the far side, and you can see the puck coming over the net. That was Ruotsalainen's shot. He was out of the frame, but Ruotsalainen shot it back in, and I wondered why he shot it so high. Well, when the whistle blew, Ruotsalainen made his way to the bench, and as we speak, is getting a fresh stick. I think he broke the blade of his stick on that one. Here it comes out to him. Tikkanen, Curry in the corner. Well, yeah, it was a wimpy little shot by Ruotsalainen, who's got one of the best. You know something's wrong with the stick. Rexy just doesn't snap him like that.
Gretzky with Tikkanen and Curry. And with a macho stick, Ruotsalainen back on right defense. And on the left, it is Smith. Brad McCrimmon for Philadelphia, which has the lead in the game 2-1. 15:40 left in the third. They've outshot the Oilers 28-18. Smith with a pass along. It's laid from Gretzky off Tikkanen to Curry. Feeds back for Tikkanen. Down he goes. Sends one away. And Hextall had to block it off. And back through Carson has it stripped away by Gretzky. Fed over to Jari Kurri. Curry's quick shot is answered by Hextall. Mellenby really hammered by Tikkanen, and the puck goes through Carson and down. That was a glass bender. 15:05 to go as back in Tikkanen to Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky backhander hit the outside of the goal. Gretzky to Curry. Hextall punched it, but into Tikkanen. Gretzky looks it over again, points it to Coffey. Hurried shot save. Hextall whipped away by Brad Marsh. And back along comes Tocchet. It's a 3-on-2 Philadelphia. Handing over to Eklund. Eklund, backhander, save, Pure, rebound, and that carried away off the skates of Charlie Huddy. Tocchet able to peel away. Leaned on by Coffey, and the puck shanks back to Brad Marsh.
No, that wasn't a power play, in case you just tuned in. That was the Edmonton Oilers exerting pressure. But, Mike, when I was sitting with Tom between periods, I mentioned that if the Oilers press too much and open it up, they will be at a disadvantage defensively. It wasn't long. The Flyers broke out on a 3-on-2 because the Oilers pressed just a little too hard.
Drop a drive. Oh, and what a snag by Pure. Along it is sent by Krushelnyski. Cross ice for McSorley, but chopped by Marsh and into McTavish. Gets away from Marsh's check, but Propp was the man who went back deep to clear it back out. Gregg on the Edmonton defense. Gives to his partner, Paul Coffey. Shift change, Philadelphia. Krushelnyski starts back. Gives to Marty McSorley. It's around for Kevin Lowe. Lowe drops it back for McSorley, but it went right along the rail and plopped down near Sinisato. Can't clear because of Gregg. McTavish turning with it. Checked off by Murray Craven. Puck played by Krushelnyski, and Brad Marsh right on him. 5 men, all in a muscle work along the boards, and Krushelnyski sees that one pop through, and then Marsh gets up to argue with Andy Van Helleman. Sinisato tries it ahead for Craven, but it pops away from Lowe. 13:20 to go in the third period, and Philadelphia ahead 2-1. It is McCrimmon just laying it right back in. Puck followed up by Anderson. Took a check from Derek Smith that broke Smith's stick. Play continues, and the Flyers have it back. Puck dropped in by Zezel. And it's Kevin Lowe back and Dave Brown right on him. And we get an icing call stopping the clock with 13:03 to go in the third. It's still the Flyers 2 and the Oilers 1. Goaltender series, they've both been strong. Grant Fuhr just a moment ago with a quick snatch of the Brian Propp shot. There you see their save totals.
Jari Kurri, one of the best starters and stoppers. What a great move. He sure takes a beating from Brad McCrimmon.
Steve Smith to get it for the Oilers. Then to Ruotsalainen. Back over to Smith. We're under 13 minutes from the end of the third period. Messier, but Anderson was in early. The score here at the Northlands Coliseum remains the Flyers 2 and the Oilers 1.
Brian Propp scored a long one on Grant Fuhr in Game 1 from just about the same position, only at the other end of the ice. He figured, well, it worked once, I'll try it again. Not this time. That one went to Grant Fuhr's huge trapper side. The one he scored on went to his blocker side the other night.
Hextall for Philadelphia, wrapping it along for Craven, kept in by Ruotsalainen, but answered by Brad Marsh. And the little swat by Messier succeeded in getting that puck away from Zezel. Then it's Smith, and it's fed over for Mark Messier. Messier shot, and Hextall able to just close the pads in time to trap it.
And you know, that was Messier's only chance to shoot. He waited for him to open his legs, and that was the only place he could put it. And Hextall, in moving, had to open his legs long enough to take a stride. But as soon as he opened them, he was conscious of closing them up as quickly as he could, and he traps it. Messier's strength in cutting around Brown. And with Hextall moving out, you know, you can't move unless you open your legs a bit. It's almost impossible to move out with your legs tight together. At one point, to get a little more forward thrust, you have to open them up. That's when Mark Messier shot, and Hextall saw it coming.
Both of these goaltenders have performed just beautifully tonight. And you could tell that Hextall's intensity was there. He shows it more. It's so much more easier to see the outgrowth of intensity with him, because not only is he doing the pipe banging, but he's also charging out on any loose pucks that might come. And you could tell that from the start. Grant Fuhr, you just waited and watched how he handled the plays. And he's done that just with sparkle tonight. 2-1 Philadelphia ahead. 12 minutes to go. Third period of play. Philadelphia's outshot the Oilers 31-21. This is Lowe connecting with Gretzky, but it's to Mark Howe. Back for Derek Smith. Has a little room now. and fires one. Oh, and that one through a screen, glanced off Charlie Huddy. And Tikkanen, crisp pass over to Jari Kurri. Crosses with Gretzky. Kurri leaned on by McCrimmon and shoveled one wide. Ron Sutter to play back for the Flyers. Bounces one ahead, and Philadelphia involved in a 3-on-2 here now, but not really with much flow. Puck taken by Huddy. And Huddy's pass is up the wing to Tikkanen, moving on with Gretzky. Tikkanen there drops it back off to Jari Kurri, and Curry's backhand attempt fails. Mellenby drives it back out again, and this time it'll be a stoppage of play on an icing call as Lowe touches up. 11:06 to go in the third. The goal by Brian Propp broke a 1-1 tie. It's 2-1 Philadelphia.
We're going to give you a good look at the different moves the goalie has to make. Back and forth, never losing position. And the key is never losing control of where the net is behind you. And that's something only experience can teach you. And it just becomes an instinct.
Kevin Lowe can't flip it in front because of Tocchet. And it is Doug Crossman banking one ahead. Propp striding after it, but Randy Gregg takes over, and just away from Tocchet, it's Crossman. Delayed offside is wiped as on come the Oilers. Gregg up the wing to Messier. Drops it over for Kent Nielsen. Nielsen swings one wide. Brad Marsh sees it up on the back of the goal, and that's where it stays. We have a halt to the action. It is a rarity when a puck stays on the back of the goal anymore since the newly designed nets of 3 seasons ago.
Right. They used to be really slack, and the puck used to just lie there. And you could hear the roar when the whistle blew, but it was for that altercation right there. It was Doug Crossman trying to keep Glenn Anderson away from the puck. Did a pretty decent job of it, too. Tough man to control. He only weighs about 185 to 188 pounds, depending on how many minutes he's played on a given night. But Glenn Anderson is a very strong left winger in this game.
Doug Crossman having his best playoff ever. His previous high was when he was with the Chicago Blackhawks. He had 3 goals and 7 assists. And this year he's had 3 and 12. And he was really fighting a difficult situation then, because in the playoffs, his mother passed away. And he was commuting back and forth between Chicago and his home to be with his family and help them at a most difficult time. And with the blessing of Bob Fulford, he was allowed to do that, did not miss 1 game. From the face-off, the puck to Messier. Tried to send one in front, but Brad Marsh there. Though getting it is Derek Smith. Given up to Nielsen. Nielsen checked down by Smith, but from his knees through to Marsh. And Zezel clears, then took a whack from Anderson and glared and looked back. It is Messier dropping back in. Hextall there, leaves for Marsh. Drilled along for Zezel, but kept by Lowe. Anderson jams it back, but right into Crossman. Clock ticks down to 10:10 left in the third. Body still being played. Messier along to Nielsen. A shot hits the goal post. Puck kept by Gregg. Forehander in front, and Messier tipped it to the seats. It may have gone off a flyer. We'll get the signal for the faceoff. It's to center ice. But you can't come any closer.
That's Hextall's side, though. I'm wondering if he left him anything to shoot at. Perhaps that was the only area that he could have hit. I'll tell you, from that angle, and that's a pretty good angle, you know what Kent Nielsen's looking at from that last angle. Here's our end zone camera. Hextall with the left leg, and he really doesn't move it very much. He's already has it kind of just limply lying out there to the left, but very often when you go in, and Hextall's so big, and we talked about him protecting that side so well, you just don't see any net. And let's face it, when you go in, you look up. Sometimes with a guy like Hextall, there's just not much to see. Paul Coffey mentioned after game 1, he said he's so intimidating. I went in on him a couple of times. All I saw was goalie in front of me.
Eklund wastes one wide. Puck played by Dave Hunter. Hunter's pass is controlled nicely, but with the high stick by Ruotsalainen. The clock is stopped midway in the third period. It's still Philadelphia 2 and Edmonton 1.
Rather be leading 2-1 right now in the Stanley Cup Finals than the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
I mean, it's nice to be here. It's nice to be in game 2 for all the Flyers. We have 9 minutes and 39 seconds left. And this whole season, when the Flyers have led after 2 periods, in 50 games that they have led, including the playoffs, they're 45-1-4. Mind you, there won't be any ties in the playoffs, but they've only lost once all year when they've led going into the third period.
One of the 3 keys that Bill Clement mentioned 3 nights ago as important for the Oilers to succeed was a 2-pronged one called patience and discipline. We'll see if they have it here. They're behind in the game. Their fans are talking it up. 9:35 now to go in the third period. 2-1 Philadelphia leading. Mike Krushelnyski not getting a regular shift tonight, but that's not at all unusual. Puck played along. Brian Propp to Tocchet, but he was in the zone, and so offside is called. You know, Bill, you mentioned before the game the Flyers have to get angry at the Oilers, and we've seen that tonight.
Yeah, I really think that we've seen it. I'm sure much to Paul Coffey's dismay. We haven't seen Paul Coffey let her rip tonight either the way he did in Game 1. They've taken away his skating speed, and you know, one of the symptoms, and it's difficult to describe unless you're on the ice, but when you're on the ice and you're playing against a team that plays very strong defensive hockey, the ice surface seems smaller. And I'm sure Paul Coffey has seen an ice surface smaller than usual tonight.
Some debris being taken care of by John D'Amico. In case you're just joining us, Gretzky at 45 seconds of the second, Derek Smith for Philadelphia 13:20, and then Brian Propp at 16:23. That's all the scoring we've had. But boy, have there been a lot of thrills.
Wayne Gretzky will have to get his inspiration from somewhere else tonight. In Game 1, he mentioned that he had watched Larry Bird play for the Celtics in the afternoon, and going into the fourth quarter against the Bucks when the Celtics really needed him, Larry Bird wanted the ball, and Gretzky's apparently a good friend of Larry Bird, so he drew inspiration from Larry Bird in Game 1 here the other night. He'll have to call upon something tonight.
Flyers are playing an inspired game here. Coffey had that one checked away by Ron Sutter. And down he goes. It's Coffey. Beating but behind Krushelnyski. Up the wing, Jari Kurri crosses with Gretzky, then gives to him. Gretzky, big drive, answered by Hextall. Kurri brushes one to Krushelnyski, who can't center. Gretzky takes a look. What'll he do? Throws it into Brad McCrimmon. Tries a second time, but it's Sutter denying and back out. Muir moves to stop for Charlie Huddy on defense. 8:40 to go in the third. Puck played ahead to Mike Krushelnyski. Picks up Gretzky. Krushelnyski moving in, has no one alongside, so he angles the far side for Gretzky. But the play made by Ilka Sinisalo. Leaned on by Kurri. Fresh from the bench comes Glenn Anderson. Anderson starting back in. Gets by the defense.
Don't go away. What a great rush. An individual rush all the way after the feed from Randy Gregg. How many guys does he have back? There's one in the middle, one on his left, one on his right. He lays it out for Doug Crossman with one hand and then pulls it back and goes by him. He's surrounded by orange and black here. Look, he'll lay it out with one hand and whoop, I'm not going that way, I'm going back. Doug Crossman, for a split second, Mike, plays the puck and not the man. And that's all a guy like Glenn Anderson needs is a split second. He'll lay it out. You see Crossman do a crossover with his feet, trying to go to the left, playing the puck just for a split second. That's all Anderson needed. He gave it to him, he took it away, and the game is tied.
Randy Gregg gets the only assist at 11:40.
One more time with Doug Crossman. Had some help from the side, but I got a feeling the guys thought that he would stand him up a little more. Watch Gretzky's reaction to this goal. How much does he like it? Yes, sir. That's what this game's all about this time of year.
8:13 left. Noisy throng here in Edmonton. Wonderful goaltending. Brilliant individual plays, and you just saw one of the outstanding plays of the entire year by Glenn Anderson. Tie game, all the emotion you could ever want to see.
And the Flyers will be very hard-pressed now to hold the lead. Don't give the Oilers any adrenaline. You can't help it at times, but that's one thing you want to try and avoid at all costs. And now it's happened. Here comes Messier, Anderson, Nilsson.
It's Messier. Put that check from his stick, and Nilsson put it into Hextall. Just when the play breaks down, the Oilers answer again. Here's Crossman, able to fidget it back out. 7:50 to play.
What do you want to bet Gretzky will be the next line out?
Anderson turns by, bear hug down. And it's a penalty, assessed delayed call, and the Flyers able to touch. A holding call to Doug Crossman, who did not want to be victimized twice. Power play coming up. Game tied at 2.
You know who gets the biggest adrenaline rush when a guy scores? It's the guy himself that scores. And here he comes again, Glenn Anderson. Well, Doug Crossman says, listen, you got me once, but I'd rather sit in the penalty box, I guess, and watch you score if you do it again. What a great rush by Anderson. 2 great rushes. Both helped his team.
He's the left winger. Messier is the center. The right wing for the faceoff is Gretzky. Anderson pivoting, lays it off to Messier. Mark Howe watching the front as the play goes wide to Gretzky, then back to Lowe. Lowe finesse one, but that off Ron Sutter. Anderson has to contend with McCrimmon, but gets it to Messier and then to Gretzky and back to Lowe. Then Gretzky once more. Big shot, wide. Lowe gives it up to Ron Sutter. Can't get it by Lowe. Across to Gretzky, but through his legs. And Howe whips it. Randy Gregg keeps it in. Gives it up to Howe again, and Ron Sutter clears. 2 brilliant keeps. One by Gregg, one by Lowe. 1:20 left power play. 7 minutes even to go in the third. Game tied at 2. Rushing ahead is Mark Messier. Across the line with his pass. And to prevent an offside, Gretzky plays it coolly to Huddy.
You know, the Oilers aren't willing to give anything away defensively here either. Lowe and Gregg started this power play. Now Huddy's out there with Coffey. Ruotsalainen hasn't even made it to the ice yet in the power play. They're looking for defense as well as this winning goal.
Huddy handcuffed Nielsen. Hextall hurried one, dumped it, but it's followed up by Coffey. To Gretzky and given right out in front to Dave Poulin. Poulin rushes back out for Philadelphia. It's a 3-on-3 developing. Poulin to McCrimmon, and the shot tipped wide. Behind, though, with it and trying to center his prop. Puck chipped loose, and Coffey starts it back ahead with 35 seconds to go power play. Gretzky moving ahead. Gives to Curry. Save made by Hextall. Marsh through Poulin. Nice finesse move by Charlie Huddy. Gives to Gregg. Now behind, it's Gretzky in front. Save! Rebound is brushed on to Charlie Huddy. Huddy fires off the leg of Poulin. Gretzky in. Pokes it behind to Nielsen. Kent Nielsen out in front. Save! Hextall! Marvelous action. Coffey drills it into prop, but it caroms to Curry. Then to Coffey again. Penalty time is up.
Kent Nielsen has to be talking to himself. He could have had 4-5 tonight. Hextall has stoned him every time. In close, out far.
From the Northlands Coliseum, it is a backhander by McClellan that is held by Hextall. The score of the game, the Flyers 2, the Oilers 2.
You know what's tough to do when you're a player is realize how much room you have in front. Well, Nielsen sees it all. He comes walking out on Ron Hextall. That was following a walkout by Gretzky. They both know when to move to the front of the net.
From the Northlands Coliseum, along with Tom Mees and Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich, Game 2, best-of-7 series. It is 2-2, Philadelphia and the Edmonton Oilers. Puck played by the Flyers. Tocchet checked by McTavish. Still fights his way along. Derek Smith buried by a check that was thrown by Steve Smith. Tocchet takes over. Trying to pivot away from McTavish. And boy, did he take a two-hander. McClellan tries to clear. Then McTavish took a run at Mark Howe. 4:45 to go in the third. McCrimmon has to go deeper. Plays it along to Derek Smith. And Smith just puts one in on Fuhr. Tended along to Ruotsalainen. Moving in on him is Pelle Eklund, but Ruotsalainen crisply turns away. Pass ahead now to McClellan. Then to McTavish. McTavish has Hunter the moving screen, and it's through him and sent away by Hextall. Marsh just one-hands it along. Derek Smith cleared back out. It's yanked back along by Gregg. Dish back on to Messier. Messier tries to get by. Short-sider is blocked off by Hextall. Prop pass, and was Sinisalo hit hard by Glenn Anderson. Crossman tries to punch it further. Lowe takes over, though, with 4 minutes even left. Just great hockey tonight. Someone had never seen a game, and you have this on tape, and he wants to know what hockey's like. Just show him this one sometime. This has had everything and all of it splendid. We don't want to go overboard, but this is great.
I agree. This is the way playoff hockey's supposed to be. Excellent scoring chances, great plays in the middle of the ice, in the zones, great goaltending.
By the way, the shots in this period, Edmonton 14, Philadelphia 2.
And you know, I don't know how far we can turn the hands of time back to look at Philadelphia's problem last year when they only had basically 4 defensemen. That was their mainstay. The man you're looking at, Mark Howe. And this year they got Shel Samuelson from the Rangers, who's supposed to be a 5th defenseman, and J.J. Daigneault. Well, Samuelson has seen some action tonight, but little action. The Flyers have again gone with 4 defensemen. There's a look at the shots. The Flyers have gone with 4 defensemen basically, almost exclusively. Mark Howe is one of them, and he's playing in a Charlie horse. And you got to look at Doug Crossman being beaten by a guy like Glenn Anderson twice in the span of a couple of minutes. It gets tough when the forwards' legs keep driving to you. There's a real fatigue factor when you go with 4 defensemen at this stage of the year.
Carson was taken down. There'll be a penalty coming up to Edmonton with 3:30 to go. Big power play opportunity for the Flyers. And Yari Curry goes to the penalty box.
Well, those of you who sit at home and say that referees never call anything at the end of a game, especially the second game of the Stanley Cup Finals, I'm sure at this stage are surprised. I'm not that surprised at Andy Van Hellemond. He calls it pretty tight. There you saw the drag down by Yari Curry, and he's hanging his head. He realized that this game possibly hangs in the fact that he's in the penalty box with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go in this hockey game.
And this one, although they often refer to the odd-numbered games as the ones that swing it, Philadelphia looks at having to win 4 out of 5 from the powerful Oilers if they lose this game tonight. If the Flyers win it, then the series is a best of 5. Philadelphia going on its 4th power play. They've come up empty in the previous 3. The vitals on this, 3:30 to go. In regulation time, game tied at 2. Brian Propp wrestled down by Coffey. Puck poked, and in deep is Eklund. Punched it along to Ron Sutter. Right back to Eklund again. Gives over to Crossman. Returns for Eklund. It's allowed to roll to Sutter. Wrapped up by Coffey, but the puck taken by Propp back to Howe. Then to Propp once more. Leaned on by Coffey. But the Flyers keep it in Sutter. Hands over for Eklund. Eklund sends one in front. Off your stick. Backhander knocked down by the defense. Still the puck played along by Huddy. And Huddy lifts it back out.
How much do you think Doug Crossman would like to be the guy that puts this away for the Flyers? He had that big chance in front just now.
Puck drilled down by Coffey.
I can tell you, Crossman's dying inside right now. He would probably give his right arm to score a goal.
He's out there and takes the pass from Howe. Little one on for Propp. Misses for Peter Zezel. Lowe goes back. Just hooked at by Zezel, and Howe anticipated well. Slips to the slot. Propp chops it wide. Rebound. Pops in front. And they try to tuck it in, but can't. Eklund curls in front. A shot by Propp. Stopping to play. The net dislodged. Action all around the net, and it moved.
There you can see it. Great call by Andy Van Hellemond. He was right there to see it. And Eklund was zooming around the net with Fuhr lying on his back. Van Hellemond spotted the net off. And you know, calling it quickly is such a crucial thing there. If Eklund comes around and Van Hellemond spots it just when Eklund's depositing the puck, you know what kind of discussion we got going on then. That puck came right around over the top of the net. Now the net is off its mooring. Look at Andy come looking for it. See the referee at the bottom right? He went right for that side of the net. It's a sharp call. Propp got some pretty good wood on it for a kind of golf shot. Here you see it rebounding off the crossbar. Zezel's blocking. Eklund comes in. There goes the net. Now Eklund still continues. He'll go from right to left behind the net. He'll cross with Andy Van Hellemond. I like it. Sharp call.
Yep. I thought for a moment in watching that maybe Lowe had helped it along, but it was already off at that point. He could have been very dramatic and just shove it against the backboards, but he was watching the front where that shot came steaming in from Eklund. So it is Ron Sutter with Propp and with Eklund still out. 54 seconds to go on the power play to Philadelphia. 2:24 to go in the third period. Game tied at 2. Crossman left point, Howe the right point. Kevin Lowe, Messier, McTavish, and Randy Gregg are the defending Oilers. From the tie-up, puck goes wide. With it is Brian Propp. Has Howe to pass to. Gives cross ice to Doug Crossman, and it hopped off his stick into the seat. Boy, when it goes tough for you, it really goes tough.
That hit something before it even got to Crossman's stick. It hit something, bounced up, and then bounced right off the top of Crossman's blade.
Sixth-round pick of Chicago in '79, and he came in a trade that involved a big defenseman named Ben Wilson, who also wore number 3 when he played for Philadelphia. Then went to Chicago and just had back problems, was unable to play at all this year. But Doug Crossman has certainly been a solid acquisition that then general manager Bob McCammon made for Philadelphia. 32 shots for the Flyers, 30 shots for the Oilers. Eklund will be in for this face-off now that Sutter is left. Mark Messier to take it for the Oilers, wins it, and then plays it further to Coffey. 40 seconds left on the man advantage. And Mark Howe will go back along with Crossman to handle it. That delay, once the net was dislodged, enabled the Flyers to keep that full complement of the same 5 guys out there for a longer period of time. This one broken up by Kent Nielsen, and Nielsen waits, then fires, and Hextall traps it and holds on.
Somehow on that play, Messier got in behind Hextall. If he stays out in front of him, he creates a screen on that shot from Nielsen, but Hextall was smart enough to move by him as Messier was coming at him. And goalie's timing so important in that aspect too. To sense when to move by the guy that's creating the screen. Of course, a little help from your defenseman goes a long way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. Crossman and Howe have been out for the whole power play, so has Sutter. They just changed wingers a moment ago. Now Ilka Sinisalo has come out, but that was one thing that dislodged net enabled Philadelphia to do, was get those men a breather and leave them out. Here's one right in on Hextall, punched away to Crossman, then wrapped along for Peter Zezel. Crossman in the final 15 seconds of Philadelphia's power play. 1:43 to go, regulation time. Moving into Sinisalo. Taken down by Coffey, but he just put the body into him, and Sinisalo went down. And then Sinisalo out in front. Oh, and it's poked away. Diving play made by Charlie Huddy. Howe with the drive wide. Loose puck held to the back of the goal by Huddy. The Flyers trying to work it loose, but can't. You sense for a moment that they had Grant Fuhrer at their mercy.
With that shot by Howe, if he labels it for a corner, he certainly seemed to catch all of it. Here's Sinisalo's good try. Look, Messier all the way back in, and what a diving play by Charlie Huddy to slip it out of harm's way. That was Ron Sutter that was just about to tee it up and get a shot on Grant Fuhrer.
Alberta born and raised, Grant Fuhrer. Mike Keenan, successful at every level of hockey he's coached. For the second time in his 3 years, has his team in the finals. And what a battle this has been tonight. 2-2 the score, 1:24 to go in the third. Shots even, 31 apiece. Teams are at even strength. And it will be Tocchet and Propp, the wingers for Eklund, with Howe and McCrimmon. Anderson comes out to work with McTavish. And Mark Messier. Low on defense with Randy Gregg.
I would have thought Mike Keenan would go with someone else at center on this one, but he lets Eklund take the face-off against Messier.
Tocchet, a shot wide. Anderson waits, but Brian Propp is there to lay it back around to Tocchet. Tocchet can't get loose for a centering pass as he's thrown away by Kevin Lowe. Still, they battle for it. 1:05 to go as the puck caroms to the front, and then Fuhrer dives on top of it.
From where Fuhrer is standing, he can see at this stage that Kevin Lowe doesn't have his stick, so he made a real sharp play and dove out and stopped the puck. There's Kevin Lowe just picking up his stick. He had a tiger by the tail, and Rick Tocchet without his stick trying to force him against the boards. And, you know, if play goes on long enough, more times than not, a guy without his stick ends up tackling the player. So you need some help from somewhere, and it came from Grant Fuhrer that time. A bit of a broken play that Tocchet tried to kick out in front. Fuhrer just dove on it and stopped it to help out his defenseman. But it's give and take. You know, Kevin Lowe has helped Grant Fuhr out a number of times in their respective careers. They played together for a number of years now.
Fuhr ready very calmly to watch the face-off, cause everyone to tense up and prepare. It'll be Mark Messier, who may be en route to another Conn Smythe trophy as a playoff MVP. But it's too early to say now. And the matchup again will be Messier against Pelle Eklund. And Messier flips it. Eklund, though, the first one there, centered, but it's taken by Messier and guided onto Anderson. 1 minute to go. McTavish rolls in, and Tocchet in an exchange with Anderson away from this play by Hextall. Puck wrapped around, but Coffey is there to keep it in. Coffey sends one that's brushed away by Hextall. McCrimmon gets to it first. Wraps it around for Brian Propp. Guides it ahead to Tocchet. Here's Tocchet moving in. Drive is tipped away by Fuhr. Chopped at by Anderson, followed up by Howe. Turnarounder in front, nearly deflected home. 30 seconds to play. Puck lobbed out near Brad McCrimmon. Flyers want to make a shift change. It's to Howe and quickly off for Eklund, but they miss there. Huddy gives it up to Mark Howe. And Howe just drops one back in deep. Mellenby goes back for it, and Fuhr tends to Huddy. Nearly closed off by Mellenby, but it's Coffey. 12 seconds to go. Coffey along to Curry, up the wing for Dave Hunter. Hunter with a wrist shot well off the mark. 5 seconds left. Gretzky tried to feed in front. Cut away by Derek Smith. And Smith turns to center ice. We will go to overtime. 60 minutes. And it's been thrilling. Both teams with a pair of goals.
And, you know, I'm not surprised the game ended tied, but I'm surprised it didn't end about 8-8. But thanks to Grant Fuhr and Ron Hextall, we've been treated to a great goaltending display. And the score ends 2-2 on this great rush by Glenn Anderson. This is the goal that locked it up at 2 in the third period. He gets by all of the Philadelphia defenders and slides it low to the stick side of Ron Hextall. Ties it up. Thanks to Glenn Anderson, the Edmonton Oilers are going to try and win this one in overtime.
That goal by Anderson, sandwiched around one by Wayne Gretzky. In between, Derek Smith and Brian Propp have scored for Philadelphia. The score at the end of 60 minutes. It's the Philadelphia Flyers 2, the Edmonton Oilers 2.
Add the legs. Take a look at this. 15 shots to 5, 10 quality shots to 3, and so on down the line. That really tells the story of the third.
You add it all up, it's about even, and of course that's where we are. We're dead even heading into overtime.
It's about even, but look at the quality shots. 21 for Edmonton, 15 for the Flyers, and Ron Hextall has played one whale of a game, but match the Oilers in quality shots, and they're going to beat you more times than not because they have more offensive
time. These two teams have met in the playoffs. It is the third time they've gone to overtime. Philadelphia won the other two, both of those in the 1980 best-of-5 preliminary series, which Philadelphia took 3-0. Here is Messier. Beating on for Nielsen, but he's checked off by Derek Smith. Brad Marsh playing for the Flyers, turning away from Anderson. Marsh takes a look, wanted the head man up the left, but now will blast one himself that is grabbed by Fuhr and played to Lowe. Lowe banks it along for Nielsen, has his man in stride, pass errant, but Messier recovers. On to Anderson, shovel shot is just wide. It is Marsh flinging it away over the glass and out of play. And now Marsh glaring in the direction of Andy Van Elleman, the referee. But Glenn Anderson just missed with a screamer. Or this one would have been over early, something that Anderson has done 3 times in his career. He has scored overtime winners for the Oilers 3 times, one at 36 seconds, one at 46, and one at 104. He does not believe in waiting too long, and he sure didn't here, as he let the wrister go, and it seemed to just whip off the toe of his stick a little bit, and because of that reason, it went errant to the right. But he's got a little curve in the end of that stick, and that might have been just a little bit that would have forced it off. Ron Hextall was in 10 overtime games in the regular season, was 1-0-9, has only been in 1 in the playoffs and won that. That, of course, against Montreal. Game 1 of their best-of-7 series for the Prince of Wales Conference Playoff Championship. And Grant Fuhr is an old hand at this. This is his 9th one in the playoffs. His record is 5-3.
How big do you think faceoffs are right about now? There's Kent Nilsson. He's used to taking faceoffs. Both Messier and Sutter have been thrown out of the faceoff circle.
Oilers this year are 1-0. And that was one of the Anderson goals against the Winnipeg Jets. Puck tipped by Craven. Ahead now is Mellanby. Big drive blocked away by Fuhr and out of play. You take no chances. Murray Craven in his first game back after the broken foot.
Yeah, game 6, was it, of the New York Rangers series, the deciding game. And Murray Craven somehow was slashed in the top of the foot. He doesn't even know who did it, but he broke one of the long, narrow metatarsal bones that runs from the top of your foot down to your toes. It's just a matter of it healing. Once the pain goes away, he can play. There's very little chance of him hurting it again, especially with a protective pad that he has over it. But he's a key guy out there with Ron Sutter at center. Sutter's going to be cheating, as will Messier. If Sutter gets thrown out, Craven's very good on the draw. So is Kent Nilsson.
Puck played by Paul Coffey and then along to Huddy. Banks it for McTavish, but it's played by Sutter. Over to Brad McCrimmon, whips it back in. And Grant Fuhr tends to Coffey. Sudden death overtime. As you know, we can play all night. But the first goal wins it, and here's Anderson with a drive. Oh, and he tried for the top right and didn't miss by much. Play made by Coffey. Along to Messier, but still in the zone was Anderson, so they wheel once more. Gets away from Sutter's check, but lost it to McCrimmon. And McCrimmon dives to punch it further. Nielsen turning, shift change on for Philadelphia. Puck goes on to Esa Tikkanen. Tikkanen to the slot. Shot trickled off Howe and wide. Tikkanen behind. They look to the front for Gretzky. Puck sent to Gregg, and he shot it wide. Here's Gretzky. Tikkanen, and a pad stop made by Hextall.
Boy, I wish you could see Tikkanen's reaction. He turned around and slammed his stick in disgust. What outstanding goaltending by Ron Hextall. Great blast by Gretzky. Randy Gregg all alone in front. And there are times when you want somebody there that can put it away. Tikkanen's original shot was blocked. He feeds Kent Nilsson behind the net. And Nilsson's like Gretzky. He sees the entire ice surface. You saw Gretzky move through. That made the Flyers' defense sag back in. And then Gregg came in as a guy behind him. Look at Tikkanen's drive. Boom. Tikkanen turned around and smashed his stick on the ice. That was the game, I'm sure, to Esa Tikkanen right there.
Bill, you mentioned a quality shot. Boy, all you have to do is look at this first minute 36, and you see nothing but quality in on Hextall. In case you just joined us, we're in sudden death overtime, and the game knotted at 2. Play made off Sinisalo. Lowe going back with Sinisalo, and they waltz to the boards. Oh, and then a crunch thrown by Tikkanen as he checked off his man, Murray Craven. Curry flips, misses Wayne Gretzky. Puck handled by Crossman. Crossman on the turning stick of Craven, quickly checked away, but back in Ron Sutter. Sutter drops to Sinisalo. Can't get loose for a shot. Kevin Lowe punched it behind. Stepping free to get it is Curry. 3-on-3 for the Oilers as Curry brings it up ice. Drop past Gretzky. Finesse. Drive. Hit the crossbar. Rolled through Tocchet. Gretzky to Tikkanen. Can't get loose for the backhander as he couldn't handle the bouncing puck. Now it's Tocchet and Trop crossing 2-on-2. Tocchet a drive wide. And off the back of the goal, it is Coffey checked by Tocchet, but the puck played by Charlie Huddy. Tikkanen works it on to big Marty McSorley. Watched by McCrimmon. Checked right off, but McTavish hops to the puck. Coffey had the gun loaded and wanted to pass, but it's sent wide and off the stick of Hextall. In to get it is Huddy. Puck flipped loose, and McSorley tries to get to it, but instead it is Howe. Jamming it along to Tocchet, flipped it behind Eklund, and Huddy hit by Brian Propp, but he gave it up to McSorley. Brad McCrimmon to play for Philadelphia, cross-bodied by Hunter. Puck rolled along by Tocchet. Pass is off the mark and flung right back in on Hextall by Messier. Stoppage of play.
You know, it's not enough for Ron Hextall just to stop the pucks. That time, he took a couple of little stutter steps right at big Marty McSorley. What a competitor.
Boy, has he faced a flourish in this overtime, including one shot off the iron.
By Gretzky. And you know, we talked about fatigue, Mike. The pair of Crossman and Marsh logged a lot of ice time. But on that particular rush, it was kind of a 3-on-3 situation. And if you ever attend a practice, You'll hear coaches yelling at the defense, stand up, stand up. Well, look at Doug Crossman and Brad Marsh. They're a good 20 feet inside the blue line by the time Gretzky pumps one, pumps twice, ding, off the crossbar. And I can't help it but going back to the fatigue. The longer this game wears on, the more I think it favors the Oilers. The Flyers' defense have to be tired.
Fans reacting to that conversation between Hextall and Andy Van Hellemond, the referee. You see the perspiring face of Ron Sutter to take this draw with Messier. From the face-off tie-up, it's free for Murray Craven. Wrapped up by Glenn Anderson. Sutter can't get to it, but ahead with it now is Crossman. And we have coincidental minor penalties on the fracas that was going on as Crossman led the puck to center ice. So Andy Van Hellemond, who knows something about long games, having that one in Washington against the Islanders, and John D'Amico was his linesman that night too. But he has taken off players on coincidental minors. They'll be scored at 3:16 of the first overtime. 5 aside. Zezel, along with Poulin and Sinatalo, Crossman and Marsh are the 5 for Philadelphia. It is Kent Nielsen's line with Messier, and now Krushelnyski, and Messier's shot was blocked by Crossman. Messier right there, given a good strong shoulder by Peter Zezel, who headmans too far for Poulin. Randy Gregg dishes it off to Nielsen. On the turning stick of Messier, Brad Marsh hustling to get back. Messier drops, Nielsen shoots, blocked off. And the puck sent back along by Poulin to Zezel. One man back, that's low. Zezel a drive, deflected into the seats by Grant Fuhr.
I'm just wondering how much longer they can keep Kent Nielsen off the board. He's had so many chances tonight, not only for goals, but for assists. He's made so many picture-perfect plays.
He certainly had the touch in earlier series that have been denied him so far.
He just hasn't really had a break, and I don't think his confidence is at a high as far as goal scoring. He pumps once here, and then pumps again. Brad Marsh gets this one with his heel. He wasn't even trying to block. He was just getting in the way and happened to be moving his foot at the right place at the right time. But it's been that kind of game for Kent Nielsen. He hasn't gotten a break.
With Tom Mees and Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich from the Northlands Coliseum. 2-2, sudden death overtime, game 2. Stanley Cup Finals between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Edmonton Oilers. The best 2 teams in the regular season. Playing now for the most treasured prize in all of hockey. Puck squirts loose and Coffey watches as Gretzky moves to play. That one shanked, but is taken by McTavish. Slides it over to Coffey, and Coffey moving in, trying to go by Howe. Out in front, he punched it wide. Gretzky pinches. He and Eklund spar for it, and Gretzky gallops in. His shot is blocked off. McTavish with it. Gets away from some of the check of Tocchet, and Gretzky tried to get one in front. Nearly left behind by Eklund. Curry takes over. Angles one, but Hextall will take matters into his own hands and clear. And it's Brian Propp moving in. The drop is to Tocchet. Tocchet chased off by Curry, then one in front, off Propp. Still they scrap for it in front of the goal. The puck is loose, and Huddy trying to seal, and it punched right around near Fuhr, and we get a stoppage of play.
Charlie Huddy's just trying to cover up. You know, the puck was moving away from him, Mike, and he pulled it back under him. And I'm sure he felt like the only piece of beef in a boarding house where people hadn't eaten in about 3 weeks. There were sticks poking at him like forks. Rick Tocchet, I even think, took a poke at him and didn't bother trying for the puck at one stage. Propp does well to get a deflection here. It never makes it to Grant Fuhr. Now, Propp will kick away at it, and he kicks it back to Huddy. Now, the puck will be moving away from him. Watch Huddy go with the stick. There, pulls it back in, and then everybody starts poking from all sides. You can see Tocchet at the top right. He gave him a little shot from the right, and just before that, at the other end, Paul Coffey had a great chance. He ends up pushing it with one hand. I'm kind of wondering what he was doing here. He could have gotten his other hand onto the stick. I think he might have been trying to just feed through for a pass to McTavish, because he really was in position to try and get 2 hands on his stick and jam it up high on Hextall.
We've played 4:52 of the first sudden death overtime period. Sutter and Messier for the face-off test, and Brad Marsh fires one right into the glove of Fuhr, handed to Kevin Lowe. Lowe Carried off by Mellenby, but there to help out is Randy Gregg. Drives it along for Krushelnyski, who just tips it back. And Marsh goes after it, and Nielsen right in his path. Nielsen was after him and is able to play this one, but it's given up to Mellenby. Mellenby starts right back down for Philadelphia, eyed up by Randy Gregg. Mellenby feeds, and Derek Smith couldn't get a shot away. Good checking by Krushelnyski. The puck taken by Nielsen. Feeds it up for Messier, but right across to Marsh, who just plays a little short one through to Mellenby. Mellenby for the Flyers, just under the stick of Derek Smith with 14:30, the time remaining in this first sudden death overtime period. It is a 2-2 tie. Zezel for Philadelphia. Can't get by Lowe. Help comes from Dave Poulin. Jams it to Zezel. No one to pass to. Flyers are changing. And it is Hunter controlling for the Oilers and then losing to Poulin. Guides it to the Sinisalo corner. Sinisalo wrapped up by Randy Gregg. It is Messier for Edmonton, just rolling a trickler back down. And then a collision. 2 Oilers go down well back up the ice. McCrimmon, whoa! Just turns away from that hit by Hunter, and on come the Flyers. It's Eklund. Eklund, watched by Coffey, flips one into the glove of Charlie Huddy, and he's hit hard by Poulin. Captain of the Flyers showing by example out there with that check. McSorley pops one. It's McCrimmon steering into McSorley, who moves back. McSorley angled one off Howe, and Hextall crisply right back to Brian Propp. Propp connects to Eklund. Has Tocchet alongside and gives for the drive. He hits the outside of the right post, and into the seats it goes.
Well, you got to give the Flyers a lot of credit too, Mike. They have not really strayed from their game. Peter Zezel especially has really ripped Mark Messier at least twice in the overtime. And when you're given the assignment of slowing down big number 11 of the Oilers, it's a lonely job sometimes, and Zezel twice has cranked him. Tocchet has hit everything that's moved, and the Flyers have gone back to the things they do best. They haven't bothered changing just because it's overtime. And I really think that that's their best maneuver to try and win this game. Watch this shot off the outside of the post by Rick Tocchet. Well, it actually missed a couple inches, hit the side of the net, close enough that it upset Rick Tocchet.
Sports Center will follow immediately after this game ends. Gretzky and Anderson, Derek Smith and Propp, the goal scorers for their teams tonight. Huddy connects on now to Wayne Gretzky, watched by Marsh. Gretzky still looking, slots it over to Coffey, side of the net, they score! Jari Kurri, it's over!
Do they love it? The guys away from the puck did it. But they sure needed Wayne Gretzky. 3 of the greatest ever to play the game combined on the winning goal. Watch how Gretzky comes down. It's a 1-on-4. Look at the red around him, but nobody goes to him. You cannot give him that much time. He feeds to Coffey. The fake. Jari Kurri one-times it. Okay, Hextall finally was beaten from that side. First time, and I don't know when. But look at the red around Wayne Gretzky. No one goes directly to him. We talked about the guys away from the puck. With 4 guys around Gretzky, there's nobody to cover Coffey, nobody to cover Kurri. Bingo. The Oilers lead the series 2-0. He buys himself time, though. I'm not condemning the Flyers. I'm crediting Gretzky and saying that the Flyers should have been a little more diligent defensively. And I'll tell you what, I played against the man, and it's easier said than done. Great goal.
You were watching the celebration involving Kurri. The Flyers to the man came off the bench to congratulate Ron Hextall, who was gallant in a losing cause. At 6:50 of sudden death overtime, this is the one that did it. Gretzky, Coffey, and eventually to Kurri, his 12th of the playoffs, 2nd of this series. Edmonton wins in overtime, 3-2.